right? It was not a banner night at all for them. So the Appleton Lowry line, need a rider. They had their way with the Oilers. And now they have a day off today. They will practice tomorrow. Then they play Saturday and Sunday. Then they have a day off on Monday, in fact, and then they play again Tuesday. So they're in a pretty busy stretch. It's good times. It's fine. I think the Oilers will be okay, but they need to be better. And I'm going to say this, and some people aren't going to like it. I think some Oiler fans need to be better in their analysis because losing and Stuart Skinner, and you're here. Oh, they can't win with Stuart Skinner. What? So Stuart Skinner, did he struggle before he got benched against Vancouver? Sure. Did he struggle the year before against Vegas? Sure. Did he improve since he came back? 100%. His first 20 playoff games, he had an .887 save percentage and a .349 goals against. His last 15 playoff games, he had a .914 and a .205 goals against average. I would call that pretty significant improvement. And he did it at the most important time. Elimination games against Vancouver, third round Dallas, third round against Florida. And just to remind people, go back to Game 6 in Edmonton. Oilers get outshot 34-10. Everybody in that game was meh except Stuart Skinner, who stood on his head. And he could have allowed 3 goals in that game and still had a .908 save percentage. But they would have lost. And then they would have had to go back to Dallas for Game 7. I don't know what would have happened. Stuart Skinner won them a huge game where the team sold their sheets. In their final 11 games last year in the playoffs, Skinner allowed 2 goals or less in 11 of 15 games. I'd say he played pretty well. Then you can take it even. Now, some will say, Gregor, small sample size, 20 to 35. Okay, sure. Well, then let's look at the last 2 regular seasons. Stuart Skinner, who, by the way, was in his rookie and sophomore season. Stuart Skinner at that time played over 100 NHL games. Do you know how many goalies played over 100 NHL games the last 2 seasons, Connor Halley? Any guess across the league?
Not many, I would guess.
11. Guys like Jacob Markstrom, UC Saros, Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, Jake Ottinger, Shesterkin, Sorokin. That's the category he's in. So in the last 2 full regular seasons, Stuart Skinner is one of 11 goalies in the league who started over 100 games. You know where he ranks amongst those 11 in goals against average? 5th, 6th in save percentage. You know where he ranks in games played? At the lowest. He has 124 career games played. Bobrovsky's at 701. Vasilevsky, Saros, everybody else is at least 192. Most of them are all over 200. So they have more experience. Yet there's Stuart Skinner, who not everybody, who some people claim, no good, way too inconsistent, could never win with. Yet he's right there amongst guys who play the most games. And his numbers are very competitive. Go back and look at, since Chris Knoblauch came in last season, where does Stuart Skinner rank? 1st in wins, 5th in goals against average, 8th in save percentage, and his save percentage of 8th was .912. Demko, Markstrom, and I'm forgetting the other, Allmark, were 5th at .913. So by a whopping .913 to .912, ain't much of a difference. It's not even a goal. And he would be in top 5. So 1st in wins, 8th in save percentage by a minimum margin, and then, of course, 5th in goals against average. How can you say that he's not improving? He is. He's improving. He showed it last year in the playoffs. After a rough start to his career in the playoffs, and even a rough start in that series specifically against Vancouver, he came back and played excellent. Do you know what his save percentage was in the final 15 games of the playoffs? And Sergei Bobrovsky's final 15 games? How about identical .914 save percentage? And people were talking about how Bobrovsky should be up for the Conn Smythe. He had a .914 save percentage. So did Skinner. Goals against average, 2.18 for Bobrovsky, 2.05 for Skinner. So to claim you can't win with him is just data proven wrong. You can have the opinion of it, but the numbers suggest you're incorrect, right? It's incorrect. Right. Now, people will, yeah, but Gregor, I didn't like one goal. So that allows me to say he's terrible because of one goal. Okay, sure. So Stuart Skinner led in the second goal. He didn't really love it. Okay, fine. Now go back and talk about the 2 saves he made in the first period that kept it 0-0. You don't remember those. You only remember the second goal. And when was that goal scored? Right? You have the highest scoring team in the NHL. In game 7, did your first line score any goals? Did your second line score any goals? No. But Stuart Skinner lost you the game because of one goal. It's a great theory, but doesn't really match out. It wasn't an awful goal. Would you have liked to make him save it? Maybe. But if that's what you're going to focus on, you're missing the plot and you're overlooking everything else. We can all pick out one game. Well, what about McDavid? Missed the net on that great chance in the slot. Does that mean he's not good? Does that ruin everything else? Of course not. It's foolishness to think of one goal as to why. Well, what about game 6 against Dallas? They wouldn't have got to Florida if he doesn't stand on his head. So all I'm saying is it's wasted energy to keep repeating stuff they can't win without him. He went to game 7 of the Stanley Cup final and matched the numbers of the goalie who won. In the playoffs last year, Sergei Bobrovsky allowed 1 fewer goal than Skinner. No, 1. So it's a fine line. But Stuart Skinner's not why they lost the Stanley Cup last year. Anybody suggesting that is what I would call a hater. And you're right, you can be a hater. But here's the thing. The Oilers as a team did not play well yesterday. Stop trying to single out one player. It's ridiculous. What did their top 2 lines do other than get outscored? What did they do? Oh, and by the way, how many great chances are they going to pass up, for God's sakes? Because don't tell me experiences. You're talking 9-10 years. Guys right in the slot. Ooh, let's try to fancy pass it there. They weren't sharp. Look at how many missed passes they had as a team last night. Wasn't good. Flat out wasn't good enough. They need to be better. But to try to put it on one player, be better, fans. You want the players to be better? I will say this. Some of you be better in your analysis. I'm sorry. But it's foolishness to want to blame Stuart Skinner for last night's game. Oh, I didn't like this goal. Okay. Oh, so now it's 5-0. Oh, I didn't like this. Oh, so now it's 4-0. Okay, great. So they were lost 4-0 instead of 6-0. Then what? What would the difference be? Well, you couldn't blame Stuart Skinner, or would you find other goals that he should have stopped? Right? Stuart Skinner was one player on a team who did not play as well as he's capable of playing. But guess what? Let's go through the list of players who did play well. Third line, they were really good. I thought actually the fourth line was fine except for one shift. What about defense? Ekholm, Bouchard, meh. Nurse, Emberson, meh. Kulak, Dermott, meh. So wait, we got 3 guys that you would say, hey, I was pretty happy with their performance. Right? Podkolzin and Perry and Ryan, they kind of did what you expect them to do. Podkolzin and obviously on the one goal, you don't like his play with the puck. It's fine. But the Oilers, they'll take the day off. And here's the thing. My concern, I don't care. I'm not even mentioning last year anymore as far as their start because it's irrelevant to this year. All I know is the main focus from the captain down was they need a good start. They didn't come close to having one. All you got to do is look at that game. 70 seconds in, your most sure-handed defenseman grenades the puck at the blue line, and Scheifele goes in on a breakaway. And Skinner makes a huge save. He actually made some big saves last night, but he still led in 5 goals. Not good enough. But if Scheifele scores there, are people blaming the goalie? No. And look at their high slot coverage last night. Eesh. Ugly. There's a few of those goals you had no chance on. They're coming wide open across through the high slot on a seam pass. Guys are one-timing it in. Like the problem for the Oilers is, as McDavid said in the Amazon Faceoff series, this happens too often. And as a group, now it's only one game. And so if you would have had a stinker in game 41, you're like, it's game 41. It's not focused on as much. So it's one game. But to me, it's how are the Oilers going to respond against Chicago? Now, they get a little bit of a break because the Blackhawks are playing on Friday. So they're not, not that you should be that fatigued by any stretch of the imagination, but they're in Winnipeg. And the Winnipeg to Edmonton is not the easiest back-to-back. Right? Then the Flames, both them and the Oilers are playing on Saturday. So they'll be equal fatigue. Edmonton has slight advantage because they don't fly. But Philly's in Calgary on Saturday as the Oilers are hosting Chicago. And then it's actually, it's because it's an 8:00 start on Saturday, and then it's a 6:00 start on Sunday. So just even a little bit action. Yeah, it is a 6:00 start on Sunday. So there you have it. They just got to play better. I expect they will. They're not going to shut out every game. Stuart Skinner's not allowing 5 goals every game. Kyle Connor, by the way, set an NHL record. We talked about it yesterday on the show, Cons. Kyle Connor, this guy's money in season opening games. 7 consecutive seasons now, he has scored a goal on opening night. That is an NHL record. In the history of the game, no player has ever gone 7 consecutive years and scored a goal. So good for Kyle Connor. Bad for the Oilers. Good for Kyle Connor.
Yeah. If you're throwing money down at playalberta.ca, Greg, or anytime goal scorer, he would have been a wise pick.
Oh, God, yeah.
Especially on opening night.
100%. Coming up today, we will talk Greg Wyshynski will be by. Landon Ferraro is our new Sports 14 analyst. We'll get his thoughts on the game and just, some other stories about playing in Europe and NHL and different things. Spec will be by. Ian Furness will join us. We'll talk a little NFL. Livingston's in studio. Steve Gardner, we're going to talk some MLB playoffs. Also, I know you're reading and hearing a lot about the NCAA and how they're going to allow CHL players. And we're hopefully have the WHL commissioner on. And how is this going to impact hockey? I think what's going to happen is the first year it opens up, they're going to really try to go after CHL players. But how many of them? How many of these players are they going to get after? So if you're looking at true freshmen in NCAA who are 18-year-old freshmen in NCAA this season, in all of the schools, there's a grand total of, I think, 30. That ain't a lot. So now you're an 18-year-old player. You're in the WHL. NCAA is calling. Now, I think the main reason you're going to go for some players is going to be finances. Because currently, Canadian players can't get nil money. Right? Because they're not residents. They can't do it. However, NCAA just passed a bill, not a bill, but they got a rule that they're going to have money allocated to teams now, and upwards of potentially 20 mil that will spread out. Now, that could be to football, basketball, baseball, whatever. Right? It's not all going to go to hockey, and depending on which school you're in, like Michigan, something tells me they'll have a little bit more cake for non-American players in football. Right? Just how it's going to be. But there could be some for hockey. So some might be enticed by the money. I get it. But if you're a player who's playing major junior and you're on a good team, you're being drafted. Because if you're drafted and then you go to NCAA, are they allowed to go to training camp? No. So what do? Right? How are teams, do NHL teams say, hey, maybe we'd like you to stay in major junior because we want you to come to camp and get that experience and play in preseason games. Now, any player who's signed an NHL contract, because they got a signing bonus, they're not eligible. And so usually, so who are these teams going to be? How many players are we talking that they're going to go after? I think they might go after a lot early on. Then they'll realize, maybe it's not how our league is. I don't know if it's going to be as drastic as some people think. But it will, I think what will happen is you're going to have a lot of 20-year-olds who are committing to U Sports. I think the Golden Bears and them, that's who's probably going to have a little bit more trouble in recruiting. There'll be a little bit of a challenge early on. And so then you talk to the parents. They look and say, okay, we can get some money for our kid there. What about the education? Is it transferable? Because some courses are, some aren't. So there's lots of questions. So we'll get into that. Is it going to be as much of an upheaval? And then how does it change for the NHL in the CBA? Because there's some rules currently in the CBA for junior players and allocation of funds and everything. And what if he's drafted there? Then he goes to NCAA. What does that mean? So you might have to actually have some changes potentially in the CBA with this rule change. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes long term. And we'll discuss that here in the next few days, because I think there's a lot of people out there who will have sons who could be impacted by this, and what's going to be good or bad, right? There's also the portal that opens up now. And so you're at school for 1 year, then they open it up, and all of a sudden you think that you're going to be a guy who's moving on up the depth chart. And then all of a sudden they bring in 3 other guys and you're like, oh my God, I'm not getting more ice time. So then what happens? And then not all scholarships are guaranteed in NCAA in hockey. Usually it hasn't been talked about, but I know lots of guys who got a scholarship. It's a 1 year, it's not a 4-year guaranteed one. You go there for a year, guess what? It's not honored. So we'll talk about all that and more. Wyshynski will join us next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's Sports20.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Mr. Rooter meets a ghost.
1 plunge, 2, and 3. A toilet clogged with a ghost? Man, I love plumbing. You're free now.
I will never find peace. The clog is fixed, yes, but I have never trusted the sump pump.
No problemo. I can fix that. Now go to the light, you little scamp.
Thank you, Mr. Rooter.
To resolve your unfinished plumbing business, trust one plumber, Mr. Rooter.
They are nice, tasting just right. You can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle noodle.
You've probably heard the term supply and demand. Something is needed and someone supplies it. We're GS Construction, and we're in the supply and demand business with you. Edmonton and the surrounding area continue to grow. Infrastructure has to be continually replaced and upgraded to keep up with demand. You see it with new buildings and new roads, but what about below ground, where all sorts of pipes bring you water and take wastewater away? That's where we come in. For more on what we do, go to gsconstruction.ca.
Gateway Toyota treats us like we're precious gems.
Because that's what we are.
Every vehicle purchased from Gateway Toyota includes enrollment into their GEM program. It stands for Gateway Exclusive Membership.
And it gives you 5-year access to over $2,500 in benefits.
Free oil changes.
Free tire and windshield repair.
Free car washes.
Even an annual detailing.
You'll also get special discounts, trade-in bonuses, and referral rewards.
I feel like a gem.
At Gateway Toyota, just off Calgary Trail at Ellerslie Road.
Looking for the perfect spot to unwind? Check out The Ridge Social Eatery, St. Albert. The Ridge is a locally owned, upscale neighborhood restaurant offering unbeatable daily features. Open daily at 11:30. Craving something late? Check out their new late-night menu from 8 till close. Enjoy brunch at the Ridge Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays until 2 p.m. Plus, there's open mic night every first Wednesday of the month and live music select Saturdays. Welcoming atmosphere, friendly staff, good times. For more, visit theridgesaintalbert.com or social media.
News today as one of the greats all time, definitely the greatest tennis player on clay, Rafael Nadal, announced his retirement from the sport of tennis. He's a hell of a player, man. Him and Federer and Djokovic for a long time. Oh, three of the greats. And they went head to head for decades. It was fun to watch, but Rafael Nadal, for all of you tennis fans, has decided to hang up his racket. So that's there you go. It'd be kind of interesting to see the next wave of tennis players, Alvarez and a few others, to kind of see where they go from here. Let's talk a little NHL now. Brought to you by McDonald's. Stop in right now. The Big Arch. If you haven't tried it, what are you waiting for? Biggest burger they've ever had, and it is great. And while you're there, you can play Monopoly only this month at McDonald's, as Greg Wyshynski from ESPN joins us. And Greg, the NHL season really ramping up tonight. It'll be the first opportunity, at least for people in Canada. Now, I know on Prime Canada, they're going to have this kind of, similar to the NFL, where they go around and all the games and they're just showing all the highlights, but it's not available in the U.S. Why?
I have no idea.
Huh. Like, seems odd to me.
I mean, all of this stuff with Amazon seems to be through Amazon Canada, which I was talking to some people actually this week about the next TV deal in Canada and all that stuff. And I mean, I would be, and the people I've spoken to would be fairly surprised if there isn't a slicing up of the rights that includes games being on Amazon Prime in Canada. So all of like the documentaries, the whole thing, yeah, some of it's been available here in the States, but everything points to them kind of getting their foot in the door and then obviously having quite a financial war chest to get involved in the next rights deal in Canada.
Yeah. Well, we've seen Sportsnet sold off the Monday night rights to Amazon. That's why they have their Monday games. I think it's, well, I know in Edmonton has 5 or 6 of them this season. So, maybe that's the first step in collaboration. You look at the NFL and they have the rights, but they're split across everybody. Everybody has them. ABC has some, everybody has them. So I don't, I think, I've always argued that might be better for the NHL to have more national broadcasters.
It's idiotic to cast your lot with one media entity in 2024. And I say that as somebody who was overjoyed when on the last rights deal, like obviously my company, ESPN, has the package and has all the games on ESPN Plus, and then TNT gets their package. And look what's happened. One, the sports surged in popularity because now more people can be exposed to the product. But two, and I think everybody understands this. Let's watch the games in the States. Like, it's two very distinct approaches to covering the game. I mean, we're much more, game coverage oriented. And I think TNT, everybody knows with Biz and all them, is bringing a lot more like studio show personality to the game, like the Barclay show. So, I mean, by casting your lot with different companies, you're not only getting more people to watch the product and exposing it to different audiences, but then you're also allowing the product to be kind of broadcast and presented through a different filter in multiple places, which I think benefits the game in a huge way.
Utah made their debut as the 40th franchise in NHL history. There's 32 active and 8 defunct. And I know some people in Arizona are like, no, we're still part of it. Well, it's going to be different. And, Arizona's probably going to get another team. I'll be curious, though, when they come back, are they the Coyotes again? How does that work? We'll see. But what did you make of the introduction of Utah? And what's your expectations for that organization and that group of players now that they have an owner who's on equal ground as a lot of the other owners and willing to spend?
Well, it would be the dumbest thing for them to come back as the Coyotes. It's a cursed franchise. Like that is a franchise that should just stay dead and buried as far as like a name and stuff. Like you can bring back the Kachina jersey, much like the way the Hurricanes bring back the Whalers jersey, but that team should get an absolute clean slate, fresh start if and when they ever come back to Phoenix. I was really impressed with what I saw out of their game ops and presentation. And, there's a learning curve. I think people assume because Utah is a winter sports haven that they all know about hockey. That's not necessarily the case. The players I've spoken to, Dylan Gunther being one of them on our show, The Drop, talked about, hey, like there's a little bit of showmanship that has to go on to get people to come back to these games and really fall in love with the sport, so they understand that too. I have them as a playoff team. I mean, I really think that the Coyotes had something going on last year before the wheels fell off and everybody had to start thinking about selling their houses because the team was going to relocate. But, the amount of young offensive talent they have up front, the additions they made to that blue line in the offseason with Sergachev and Marino and Cole, and then the goaltending was always good. I think they're going to jump up and grab one of those wild cards in the West.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what happens. Colorado to me is the most intriguing team right now because now Landeskog's been out 2 years, so I'm not even sure it's fair to use him. But he was there, and they were hoping he'd be there, so they probably spent their money differently, thinking he might be there. Nichushkin's out till at least middle of November. We'll see if it's longer than that. And then Arturi Lehkonen, another guy who's out, and you look at their wingers that they had in their lineup last night. Ivan and 19-year-old rookie, and Kovalenko, an NHL rookie. That like 3 forwards with no NHL experience, a few others that don't have much. Like they're going to really have to rely on the McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar triangle to get this team to compete with Dallas and Nashville, Winnipeg, and maybe even Utah.
Yeah, and it's a pretty sturdy foundation you're planting your feet on there. If it's Makar, McKinnon, and Rantanen to kind of keep you afloat. Yeah, they were the team that maybe I struggled the most with in my preseason predictions, insofar as what their ceiling could be. Because honestly, like if those 3 guys you just mentioned come back, and in Nichushkin's case stay back, I think his return is they're looking forward to it. But who even knows if you could trust he's going to stay in the lineup? Then they're a really dangerous team. They're deep, they're talented. They've done this before. They've got the hunger now back from a couple of playoff disappointments. They're the team that I struggled with the most in trying to really understand what their ceiling could be. But you take what's coming back in the lineup, and then you take what they will probably add at the trade deadline, because they're always seemingly aggressive when they think they're close. It could be a team we got to all reckon with in the West.
Greg Wyshynski joins us. Greg, a few, there's some teams that I think it's the Ducks. They start later. We get a lot of other teams back in action tonight. We had the Allmark and Swayman multiple contracts, exact same AAV, just in different markets. Do you like one of those contracts better than the other?
It's an interesting question, because I like the Swayman contract for the Bruins, and I love the Allmark contract for Allmark. I mean, like let's be honest. Like Allmark and Joey Decord both signed contracts in the last 24 to 48 hours, and they sign contracts before they see any action for their teams. And in both cases, they sign contracts based on previous accomplishments versus anything they've done this season. In Allmark's case, I think we can all assume that his numbers are going to dip. Everybody who seems to play goal for the Ottawa Senators sees their numbers dip. So secure that bag now before maybe your negotiating situation changes with the stats you put up this season, and then you're a year older. That's real smart. then Decord, same thing. I mean, like I don't trust the Kraken necessarily to be a defensive stalwart in front of their goalies, and I don't necessarily trust Decord to play as well as he did in 50 games last year. So secure that bag and make it happen. And then in the Bruins case, Swayman's fine. I think Swayman's a really good goalie, and to the point where he's probably made that team look better defensively than they actually have been in the last couple of seasons. And they locked him in at a pretty decent price and a pretty decent clip. That'll probably look even better as the cap continues to go up.
Greg Wyshynski from ESPN joins us. Greg, how big do you think this NCAA rule change that's coming to allow CHL players in is going to? How is it really going to matter?
It's interesting. I broke the story about the one kid who made the decision first and tried to challenge the system. And in doing so, I spoke to a lot of people. And look, on the whole, I think they believe the change in eligibility rules is going to strengthen NCAA hockey. There's going to be an influx of talent. From what I gather in talking to a few of them, their concern is now, what happens to the high-end elite Canadian talent if you're not holding those eligibility rules over their heads? Are they going to end up playing in Canada a little bit before they come to the NCAA? Thinking about guys like Celebrini and players like a Celebrini level player, I should say, and players like that. So, on the whole, I think it probably strengthens the numbers in college hockey, while there is some hesitation about what it could ultimately mean for those high-end players.
Yeah, and a lot of it is the high-end players. I don't even know if they go there, because once you sign an NHL contract, you can't go there anyway. So, will they sit and wait? And maybe some will not sign a contract, like Jonathan Taves, right? There's kind of rare ones like that. But and most, I think you might see, a few guys who come in. Like I was looking at how many 18-year-old freshmen there are right now in NCAA. It's not an 18-year-old league, really. Now, maybe they'll change and want to go that way, but seemingly it's never been an 18-year-old league. So I don't, and if you're a 19-year-old player who's now 1 year after his draft, if you're a top guy and you've probably already signed your contract because you want to get your signing bonus, I don't think you're going to NCAA at that point. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think we're all kind of waiting to see how it plays out. I do think ultimately, look, I'm a players guy. I grew up in a union house and everything. And I think that creating more choice and not having the NCAA have the ability to hold eligibility rules over young athletes' heads, be it the NIL thing or be it this thing, I think ultimately benefits everybody.
Yeah, I think it could. It'll be interesting to see. I really wonder, if I was the CIS, a Canadian University League, and they open this up, I'd be like, hey, let's play some exhibition games. And I've argued for a long time that the U Sports teams, the top ones, could easily compete with the top colleges. The difference is the NCAA promotes their league better, and they get all these free agent guys, and 90% of them never play anyway, but they get a lot of entry-level deals out of it, whereas U Sport players never do. And to me, if I was running the U Sport, that'd be the first thing I'd be doing, is saying, hey, because now you're going to be going after the guys that we're going after, so let's play each other and see where we land. I think it'd be great.
This is interesting. This is like when the winemakers in Napa, went to France to enter that competition, and then all of a sudden, by winning the competition, Napa became the belle of the ball in the wine community. You want to challenge the NCAA in hockey dominance, and a win in an exhibition game will turn the tides in favor of the Canadian university system. I appreciate this theory.
Yeah, looking at a few of the other teams, who now excluding New Jersey, because I think everybody's picking the Devils to get back in the playoffs. Do you have another team or two that you really like this year to get back in? And is there anybody in the Atlantic you like enough to push out one of the top four?
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Sabres, much to my chagrin. I'm gonna pretend that the first couple of games of the season were the Devils being that good and not the Sabres being that bad. But they were getting better defensively under Don Granato. I think Lindy Ruff being there could maybe help that out a little bit more with the younger guys. He certainly made an impact on some of the younger players in the Devils when he was there. But really, the thing that I wanted to see most out of him was for him to activate their offense. They've got a ton of offensive talent on that roster. It all atrophied last year as they tried to figure out the defensive side of things. A little bit of goaltending, a lot more goal scoring, and I thought that they might be it might be time for them to kind of break through finally from that pack of teams in the Atlantic. I'm unconvinced after 2 games, but it is, after all, just 2 games. But that was one of the Hail Marys I threw in my preseason predictions.
Ottawa is the interesting one to me. Linus Ullmark, what's he going to do there? They went out, they solidified their back end a little bit. Jensen's more of a defensive-minded defenseman. Does that help? And will their young forwards, is this year they're like, hey, we got to have a pulse and an awareness defensively. And if they do that, they've got enough skill. They should be able to compete.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, that's the challenge, right? I mean, the problem with the Ottawa Senators right now is that it's a team constructed around a core of players that don't seem to really care all that much about the defensive side of the ice. And maybe you could coach that out of them, and maybe it's just a matter of maturity, or maybe you're just kind of built yourself on a platform where it's a bunch of offensive guys that are never going to really commit to the defensive side of things in a way that's going to allow you to really be a playoff caliber team. I don't know. I mean, that, like you said, that's the curiosity about them. I do think obviously their goaltending is going to be a lot better with Ullmark over Korpisalo, and I do expect Forsberg to bounce back this year. Health is going to be huge, as we saw last year and in previous seasons with them. And that's the other issue, is that like when one of your guys is a guy like Shabbat, for example, and how do you go into this season not already assuming that you're going to get only between like 60 to 70 games out of the guy? So a lot of question marks about him. I don't love him as a team that breaks out of that pack.
Will the Edmonton Oilers start 2-9-1 again?
And if they do, does Connor have like a youth coach or something that they can turn to turn the season around? No, I think they'll be fine. I mean, last night was an aberration, and they're going to be okay. In fact, I think that I fully expect them to play at the kind of clip that they played under Knobloch last year, and probably win the division. And then we go from there. I just think that they're too good and they're too deep, and they certainly have unlocked. He's unlocked something in them that I think we're just going to see carry over to the season.
Good stuff, Greg. I was being somewhat facetious there. People are fired up in Edmonton, as you can imagine. Like when you lose the first game and you get spanked 6-0 on home ice and you really don't play very well, I understand. To me, be mad about one game, it's totally valid, because it's like the worst possible start. It ties them for the worst ever season opening home start. They lost to Detroit, I think 8-2 many moons ago. So it wasn't. It was less than ideal, to say the least. It's clearly people were like, well, they were upset watching the banner raised that they didn't want raised, and I'm like, I don't know about that one, but who knows?
I didn't see it last night. Did Connor come out for the banner raising?
No, they did it. Like they did the banner. Like there was no real ceremony. It was just, it kind of went up. And
they were just there.
Yeah. It was just like ta-da. But yeah, there was no big taboo about the banner. And I'm guessing the players are like, you know what? We just got the release of Faceoff. We had to relive it there. We don't need to relive it again, is what I'm guessing.
I think that's probably a wise decision.
You've discussed it enough. Everybody knows they lost. What did you make of that quickly? What did you think of the Faceoff?
I thought it was awesome. Like, I know some people were kind of left a little bit wanting from it, but I think that you had at least 3 episodes, the Swayman one and then the 2-parter at the end, that were as good as anything the NHL has done since 24/7 on HBO.
Yeah.
So I loved it. And like I've been telling people, like, you're never going to see Connor the same way again if you watch that show. And I think that's true for anybody that watched the show.
Greg, great stuff as always, man. Enjoy the games tonight.
Anytime.
There you go. That's Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. We will take a quick break, and when we return, we will continue on talking. Hey, man, it's the best time of year. And we'll talk about probably what's the best sport at the best time of the year. Next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction in sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton.
It's an action-packed weekend of Oil Kings hockey at Rogers Place, starting Saturday afternoon against the Red Deer Rebels.
Then it's a Thanksgiving Monday matchup with the Vancouver Giants.
Bring boxes of mac and cheese to use as noisemakers, then donate to Edmonton's Food Bank after the game.
And at every home game, score Calmont Kids food combos for $10 or less. The value is king-sized.
Edmonton, Red Deer, Saturday at 2 p.m.
Oil Kings, Giants. Special holiday Monday noon puck drop.
Great family entertainment at Rogers Place starts at just $20 a seat. Save on day of game pricing now at oilkings.ca.
Michelle and Colette are sisters. Sisters who don't agree on much, especially when it comes to which hockey team is the best.
Edmonton is the best, baby. Vancouver's number one.
Even when it comes to meat snacks from Wilhawks.
I love the Herrenschweiner. The ham sausage rules.
But they will agree
Wilhock beef jerky is the best.
it might just be the only thing Alberta hockey fans can agree on.
Pick up some Wilhock beef jerky today, because you don't win friends with salad.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
When you want to recognize the top performer on your team, come create memorable and customized trophies and awards with Elite Promotional Marketing. Elite's in-house design team will help you achieve your corporate award goals. Head to ElitePromoMarketing.com.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at Cantork.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. This is one big deal for one big pizza. Get an extra large New York style one topping pizza for only $17.99. Order today at papajohns.ca.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Welcome back. Oilers day off, licking their wounds. They'll be back on the ice tomorrow, and I would expect them. Well, the good news, it can only go up from here for your Edmonton Oilers. 6-0 shellacking at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets. Last night, Raphael Lavoie, the waiver saga continues for young Raphael. He was placed back on waivers today by the Edmonton Oilers. And so here's how it works. Now, Vegas is the team because they had his rights. I know it's weird, but that's the rule. So now if Vegas puts in a claim and no one else does, then Vegas can send him directly to the minors. But Vegas, they put in a claim thinking, hey, you know what, maybe Edmonton would take him back, away we go. Now, there was a team, I thought it was Colorado. I just went over contracts, I went over teams, everything, that put in a claim on Lavoie. Now, they did not put in a claim on him originally. I found that out last night. So they didn't the first time. So then the Oilers put in their claim. They admitted we're a bit of surprise someone else put in a claim. So now we'll find out. Does that other team or Vegas want to reclaim him? We will find out tomorrow at noon. If Raphael Lavoie is going to Bakersfield, he's going to the NHL, he's going to Henderson. Those are pretty much his three options. Actually, no, that's not true. He could go to Vegas as well if Vegas puts in a claim, but then one of that team who claimed it when Edmonton did, they put in a claim again. So it's been a crazy time. Now, he has not left Edmonton, just so you know. He's still staying here in Edmonton as he hasn't been flying all over the place. That's kind of the only saving grace for him. Let's get to our MLB report now, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, and the temperatures are cooling down eventually. So you know what, though? But if you want to think positive, and still, hey, I need the AC. Well, you can AC and furnace bundled together, save even more. No interest, no payments for a year at legacyheating.ca. And baseball playoffs, baby. You love it. Oh, my goodness. It's been some unbelievable games so far. Yesterday, we saw the New York Mets become the first team that moves on to the NLCS. They're going to face either the Dodgers or the Padres. They won't find that out until Game 5 tomorrow. But tonight, we have 2 Game 4s. KC needs a win at home, and Cleveland needs a win on the road to move to a Game 5. To break it all down, we are joined by Steve Gardner from USA Today. Steve, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Jason. How are you?
Oh, buddy, I'm really enjoying these playoffs, man. There's been some unbelievable games back and forth. There's been some blowouts that had like 6 home run games by the Padres. I guess let's start with the Mets. And you know what? 3 months ago, no one would have had the Mets even in the playoffs, never mind where they're at. What has gone right for them, even in the playoffs, that's impressed you the most?
Yeah, I wish I could put my finger on it, but it's clutch hitting, which happens in the playoffs, and the fact that they're able to get to the opponents so far that they played in their bullpens that have been very good. The Brewers and the Phillies bullpens were great all year, and the Mets just have found some way to attack them, exploit them, and no matter who they threw out there, the Mets were able to hit them. And that's what it comes down to in the postseason. It's executing, coming up big at the right time. And boy, Pete Alonso's home run in the previous series, Francisco Lindor's clutch home run, grand slam, in this just the other day. They have done it when it mattered, and that's what gets you advancing in the playoffs.
And then you've got the Detroit Tigers, who from August 8th until now being the hottest team in major leagues. And they came out of nowhere. I think, whether they like 4th from the bottom in the AL, and they've kind of been riding that wave. And so you look at tonight's game in Cleveland and Detroit, and you know what? Both the managers in Cleveland and KC have said, hey, you know what? We got to go out there and it's, you save nothing for it. But when you look at this pitching matchup here, Bibby versus Olsen, do you see any favorite either way? Do you like just the matchup of the pitcher to the batting order on the other team?
Yeah, I like Tanner Bibee. I mean, he has been the Guardians' best pitcher all season long, at least best starting pitcher. And, they have tremendous confidence in him. And on the other hand, the Detroit Tigers have just kind of thrown things together behind Tarek Skubal, their ace. Olsen has had trouble. Riley has had trouble all throughout the season with injuries. And it's really hard to see him going very deep into the game, but that's what the Tigers want. I mean, they have thrown every possible reliever, and every single one of them, it's pitching chaos, as AJ Hinch famously said at the beginning of these playoffs. They've been able to make that work. So on paper, you would think that the Guardians had a significant advantage on the mound. But again, it hasn't always worked out that way so far in the playoffs.
No, not at all. And, you speak of Cleveland. I do want to get your thoughts because he's a local guy from here, Eric Zabrowski, who since he's come to Cleveland, and, you can kind of say maybe came out of nowhere and expectations for a lot of people, back-to-back Tommy John surgeries, was in a AA, then to AAA, and now finally he's here. Hasn't given up a run. He hasn't given up an unearned run. Like, this guy's coming, and his outing yesterday was about as good as you can ask for a relief pitcher.
Indeed. And, that's how the Guardians, their bullpen has been such a strength this season. It's been impressive to see, all the way up to Emmanuel Clase. And that's kind of been the way when Cleveland has succeeded in the playoffs. They've had a super strong bullpen. I mean, you going all the way back to 2016, when they made it to the World Series. It's just the way, it's certainly not the offense. The offense is not potent. You can't expect them to put up 5 or 6 runs a game. So you've got to get contributions from everybody on the mound. And that's it's been the formula for success.
Then we move to the late game, KC and the Yankees. And, just on reputation alone here and really career numbers, the starting pitcher matchup seems to favor the Yankees heavily tonight. Do you think that transpires that way?
I think so. I mean, Garrett Cole has come up big. Whenever he's been on the mound, it seems like he's the Yankees ace. He's been the guy that they've been able to, to count on. And here we have a big game. I mean, he hasn't really hit, those ace levels, that Cy Young winning levels that we saw from him last season. But he's still a very, very good pitcher. And even on an off night, he can fight through and give the Yankees a chance to win. So I would expect they feel very, very comfortable with the way things are going for them. And to have the guy that they want to have on the mound, it's just a matter of, how deep can he go into the game? I'm sure that Aaron Boone would love to have him go 7-8 innings and take some of the pressure off of that bullpen, because you never know what you're going to get for the Yankees when you get into the later innings. So yes, you've got to feel super confident. And the Royals are kind of playing with house money here. I mean, I didn't think they'd get past the opening round series. They did. They're hanging with the Yankees, looking really, really tough. This could be an outstanding game as well. I think it should be.
Steve Gardner joins us talking MLB playoffs. And Steve, the Yankees are up 2-1. And Aaron Judge has really done nothing. He's 1 for 11. He's got 5 strikeouts. He's batting, under 100. KC's really managed to figure him out. I mentioned the 5 strikeouts. I don't know if he's pressing too much or not. It just seems like it's very odd for him to be struggling this much, considering the unbelievable season that he had.
Yeah, I mean, he was the best player in the American League by far. And to have, that's what's so crazy about the postseason is you've got such a small sample. And no matter what you did in the previous round, of playoffs, the Yankees had to bye. But no matter what you do in one round, the next round can be completely different. There's hardly any momentum, certainly from a hitter's standpoint. And Aaron Judge is just going through some of that. On the other hand, you've got Giancarlo Stanton, who has suddenly turned into a monster and hitting clutch home runs, stealing bases, and doing all sorts of things, MVP-like. So somebody's got to step up, and that's, the Yankees have had trouble in previous years, and that's why they haven't gotten to the World Series in so long, is that it seems like they haven't had anybody around Aaron Judge to pick up the slack. And when Judge struggles, the Yankees struggle. Fortunately for them, they've got Giancarlo Stanton, they've got Juan Soto, they've got Chaz Chisholm, and lots of other guys to help out to keep them afloat.
Yeah, Verdugo's, had some hits at the right time for them, so that's key. We mentioned the Mets, and they're through. Then you got the Dodgers and the Padres. We will have Game 5 tomorrow, and the Padres, since the All-Star break, have been unreal. The Dodgers, of course, have been very good all season long. You look at that Game 5 preview, and it's been kind of, crazy. Now, the Dodgers, I don't think, and maybe I missed it, Steve, I know that Darvish is starting for San Diego. Do we know yet who's starting for the Dodgers?
I'm not sure that we do. And Dave Roberts has been a little bit coy because he hasn't had, anybody that has been able to step forward on that pitching staff. They had to go with a bullpen game last night. I think it will be all hands on deck, and we could see anybody out there for that matter. I guess maybe we'll get Yamamoto. I mean, we'll just have to wait because they have time, they have a strategy, and as you know, when your season it's do or die in a Game 5, you can throw anybody out there because there's no tomorrow.
Who do you like in Game 5, and who do you see moving on from the other 2 series?
I think the Padres have been a better team than the Dodgers have been over the course of the second half of the season. And except, for last night when the Dodgers jumped out on them real fast and it wasn't really much of a game, I think the Padres have outplayed the Dodgers. So in that regard, I kind of, saw the Padres moving forward at the beginning of these playoffs. Maybe one of the things that I may get right because I like the Phillies, I like Baltimore, and they did not advance. So in that regard, I think the Padres do have a slight edge just because of the way they're playing and all the guys that they have contributing. In the American League Series, I think the Yankees being up, having 2 chances, having Garrett Cole tonight, I think they advance. And I think the Tigers have been such a great story. I just don't know that they're able to get it done. I like the Guardians. They've been solid. Not a whole lot of going out on a limb when that would have been the way to go, I guess, when the playoffs start. But I see things falling kind of into place the way that most people think they should in the rest of these series.
Steve, really appreciate it, man. Thanks for your time. I know it's super busy. Enjoy the playoffs. Thanks so much for this. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate it.
There you go. That is Steve Gardner joining us from USA Today and MLB playoff. I'm telling you, Cons, have you been watching these games?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially, you get a game a little bit later on in the night, you throw it on. I'm very intrigued by the Padres and the Dodgers, my two loyalties in the NFL, the San Diego and the Los Angeles. So I'm thinking I'm going to hop on the bandwagon, whoever advances from that series. But yeah, just the intensity ramping up, Gregor. A game-changing play can come at any time, swing the momentum. It's so much fun to see.
Yeah, I love MLB playoffs. Like the regular season is hard. To be committed. Imagine being a season ticket holder for MLB. Like, my goodness, you've got to be. I don't even know how you could do it. You got 80 games. How could you go to that many? Like, that is obviously. I don't think you can. Maybe if you're retired. Maybe. I guess I would give you something to do. Hey, guess what? I got something to do 80 times a year. Great, but it's the playoffs though are amazing. And this year, just the back and forth and lead changes. It's like that KC Yankees game was unbelievable. That Padres Dodgers series. I know there's been some blowouts, but there's also just been some drama. I love it. So looking forward to it. And hey, I like it. Hey, anytime you have somebody that we have on the show, and I know he's good friends, a lot of his people here in St. Albert, obviously we're rooting for Cleveland to go a little bit deeper. So that'd be great for Eric. Let's get to the con, man. And a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice, where they are celebrating their 25th anniversary. And what do you like to do? You like to reminisce about all the great times you had. Well, they're bringing back some of the classics, the original, the marathon, and the creamsicle. Get it now. Download the Boosters Reward app or stop in only at Booster Juice.
The Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers placed Rafael Lavoie on waivers today, marking the third time he's been on waivers since Sunday. The team claimed him back from Vegas on Wednesday, but he did not see the ice time in the 6-0 loss last night. Columbus Blue Jackets captain Boone Jenner underwent shoulder surgery today after being injured in practice last week. GM Don Waddell said Jenner's timeline for recovery is 5 to 6 months, and they're hopeful he can return at some point this season. And the Winnipeg Jets have placed goaltender Kaapo Kähkönen on waivers. The move likely ends a 3-goaltender situation in the Peg, as Eric Connery now appears to be the clear backup to Hellebuck. On the ice tonight, you got the Canadians in Boston. Sabres host the Kings. Panthers travel to our nation's capital, taking on the Senators. Devils host the Leafs. Utah is in New York to take on the Islanders. Red Wings up against the Penguins. Stars in Nashville. Wild host the Jackets, and the Blues in San Jose. Week 6 in the NFL will kick off tonight with a NFC West matchup. The Seahawks hosting the Niners. That one's set to get going at 6:15. WNBA Finals gets going as the Liberty hosting the Lynx. Tip-off 6 o'clock in that one. And NBA preseason, you got the Pacers in Cleveland. Mavs host the Jazz. Hornets take on the Grizz. Lakers up against the Bucks. And the New Zealand Breakers travel to OKC to meet the Thunder. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our co-host, Terry Ryan, also Sports 1440 Oilers pre- and post-game analyst Landon Ferraro, and we'll speed things up in the Cantor Racing Report with Colin Livingston. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
It's Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Center. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Center's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit EdmontonExpoCenter.com today.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment.
You're listening to the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Experience all the excitement of the casino on your desktop or mobile device at PlayAlberta.ca. Sign up and receive a $50 welcome bonus using the promo code Casino50. You're listening to the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, your digital home for online gaming excitement, including casino, live dealer, lottery, instance, and sport betting. Oh, it's another little toe tapper. I like it. Welcome back Thursday afternoon on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Get in the game, the Daily Grand, and get your tickets where you can win $7.2 million. Now you can cash out once, or it's Daily Grand because they'll give you $1,000 a day for the next 20 years. Oof. You know what? Just subtly quiet. Maybe you don't want it to change your lifestyle. Just be a nice one. It probably would, because it's $30,000 a month, sometimes 31. Not bad. Not a bad way to know that you're guaranteed to make $365,000 this year. Maybe you just have to work part-time. Maybe you wouldn't work at all. You make the decision. All of a sudden, you know what, honey? I think I'm not going to work. What? Don't worry. I got a plan. Let's have it a secret. Maybe not. It's probably not a good secret. Terry Ryan is going to join us momentarily. We've got a lot of texts coming in our inbox, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Your partner in power since 1975. 49 years of giving you the best electrical gear, and now even easier to get. Online 24/7 at ewel.ca. And even better, you know what? If you're one of those people that likes a little in-person interaction, go down to UL. They always got the show playing in there, right in the front entrance. It's fantastic. So you can listen or even watch it. So a big shout out to everybody down at UL. Keep working. Hey guys, what's the record for amount of times a player has been on waivers in this short period of time? Steve from Drumheller. Steve, it's a really good question because I was trying to think, when was the last time we saw a player go on waivers, claimed, next day on waivers, claimed, now back on waivers? He's basically been doing this since Sunday. And maybe it ends tomorrow. I don't know. Because if Vegas puts in a claim, because they might to say, hey, this guy could bolster our American League team, because they could send him directly to the minors. But what if the team who put in a claim last time, which was one of the top 8 teams in the league last year, I think it's Colorado, but I don't have that 100% confirmation. I could be wrong. I looked at their roster and I'm like, yeah, they could use him. But I can't remember a guy who's gone this many times. It's a good question. I might have to try to find that out from our ace NHL stats guys. That would be that'd be hard to find. Hey guys, I'd love to have Taylor Hall back. Always liked his chemistry with Draisaitl. What do you think the chances of that are? Well, I think the Oilers, when it came to the trade deadline, considering Evander Kane will be around, I don't know how healthy he'll be then or not, but I would think Edmonton's first priority is going to be to acquire a right shot defenseman. Ideally, a top 4 right shot defenseman. I think that is going to be priority number 1, probably priority number 2, and priority number 3. Then they'll move to some other positions. And I don't know, now an injury can change everything for sure. So I don't know if I see necessarily a fit just based on what the Oilers' needs are and what their salary cap is at this point in time. Doesn't make sense to me. So. Hey, Gregor, do you ever try to figure out why does the Oilers as a team seem to crave drama and pressure? They've been at it for years. Hacksaw. Well, I'm not. What? I don't know if they crave pressure. I think Edmonton's been a team that Oiler fans, you never had any expectations for years. For a decade, your team stunk. And even the years where you're like, oh, this year will be different. Within 2 months, you're like, no, it won't. So the expectations became very low. So I don't know if there's that much more pressure, if I'm being honest, in Edmonton there is in Tampa Bay or Toronto or Florida or Boston's been a really good team the last few years. Like, look at Boston. They had the greatest regular season record ever. Did they get out of the first round? Wait, did they get to the conference final? No. So I think everybody else, I don't think Edmonton has more pressure. And I don't see a ton of, Lavoie to me isn't drama. Now, Edmonton has a really passionate fan base, so everybody's talking about it. But this is a player who has been majority an AHL player in his career. Now, there are some people who think he's a lock, guaranteed, going to light it up in the NHL. Maybe they're right. History will tell us no, but there's always outliers, right? If you're a Raphael Lavoie, I know people are like, oh, this has got to be hard on him. Not really. He's getting a week of being on an NHL roster and getting paid. And that's just, you know what? Good for him. So that's, that's great news. And I think the other thing is if anything, he's sitting back there and it's maybe a little annoying thinking you're going somewhere and then you're not. But the difference is for Raphael Lavoie, he's like, you know what? Some teams think I'm close. And if you're Raphael Lavoie, that can be a good thing. Because now if you had some self-doubt, and we all suffer from self-doubt at different times. And you know what? If you never kind of made it yet, maybe that's a guy who would have a little bit of self-doubt, right? But he might be looking and say, geez, so the Oilers wanted me. And another team, Vegas had signed me once, and now somebody else put in a claim. Well, hey, that's not a bad deal at all. So he's got now he's on a one-way. So no, he isn't. He's on a two-way deal. He's getting 200 in the minors, 775 in the NHL. So if I'm Raphael Lavoie, this is taking a little bit longer than I wanted, sure. But at least I'm getting NHL money every day. So that's the benefit. And, some of it, one day is going to come from Vegas. There's a few days from Edmonton, and then we'll see if it's anybody else. I really hope for his sake, that team who put in a claim, because I don't see any reason, like if it's Colorado, for instance, and they put in a claim yesterday for him, well, why wouldn't they put in a claim again today, which we'll find out if they get tomorrow? The roster hasn't changed. They don't have any guys any healthier today. They went into Vegas last night, and their top line did what everybody expected, was very good. Rantanen got a hat trick, but their depth lines were kind of what everybody expected. They're not very good. So I could see if it was Colorado, and that's my gut. Again, I don't know that 100%. But you look at, some of the bottom guys that they're playing. Caravanta played 8 minutes. Ivan played 9. Who's the other young kid? His name's Kovalenko. And now Richie played 16, but he was -3. Right now, he's 19 years of age. He could go back to junior. And you know what? You're Raphael Lavoie. You come into Colorado, you'll probably get more ice time and more opportunity than you would have in Edmonton, because Colorado's roster now is depleted. So I hope in his sake he does. Then you get a chance, and we'll see what happens. Let's welcome to the show former NHLer, first round selection of the Montreal Canadiens, 2-time author, actor now, and analyst with us Tuesdays and Thursdays on Sports 1440. Terry Ryan, also in the Newfoundland Hall of Fame. TR, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can you hear me okay? I'm doing this from my vehicle.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. I'm at my daughter's soccer tryouts, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Been very busy for many reasons the last few days. It's nice to be back on.
Now, you're when your daughter's at her tryouts, TR, are you having played at a high level of sports? I've seen guys who play at a high level of sports who can be very calm parents. I've seen other guys who played at a high level of sports and they're lunatic parents. Where do you come in?
I'm if you can believe it, I'm really laid back. Yeah, I'm up in my car now. The only reason I would, right next to the field looking at it, even if I wasn't on with you, I'd be here. I might go down for a little walk. I never speak to the coaches unless spoken to. I trust them. She's been fortunate enough to have some coaches that are awesome leaders. They have fun. They got a lot of respect, without naming names. Just they're the finest Newfoundland has to offer, and I stay out of it.
Which is good. It's a good advice.
I'm at every practice and game. Don't mind if I'm here. Love watching my daughter. They have an awesome team. I love the competitiveness. Don't get me wrong there.
Yeah.
I've been the receiver of too many crazy parents when it comes to hockey, and I've seen it, and I don't even want to tread there. If there's in my experience, Jason, the coaches aren't there to hurt the player. She's good enough to make the team. How much she plays is really up to her. I don't think he's, or she, or wherever you are. Usually that's not the case. You got to look beyond it. There's been times, of course, why don't you have Penny Lane out there? But, that's me. I don't. After the game, usually I look back and go, okay, they got 3 games in 4 days. And, there's always something. It's not usually the coach has something out for your kid. And though I can get passionate about the game and watching her, I really do stay out of it.
Yeah, which is the best way. It's usually it causes more problems than anything else. TR, having played in the BCHL for a bit as a youngster, then of course played in the major junior in Tri-Cities. There's the NCAA, which never allowed major junior players to come there, which would seem very odd to me. But nonetheless, they haven't done it. But now with Neil, there's really no reason not to. It sounds like this will pass probably even sooner than November. Do you think it's really going to impact major, junior, or is it going to impact more the U sport level as they'll have high competition for those 20-year-olds who graduate?
Yeah, I've often wondered. First of all, I could never really see. I kind of see there's been points presented, but I never saw why this has been a rule anyway. And I saw it from both sides. There was, who did we have? We actually had Todd Simpson. I mean, any NHL fan knows Todd Simpson. And Todd came from Brown University to Tri-Cities.
Yeah.
In a really odd, usually, you would want it, the major junior is the younger league. So, players going that way. And there was always, obviously, they'd play and forfeit their eligibility. I've seen it. There's two players here. Those Newfoundlanders probably know Jason Hedges and Kyle McGraw. I've said it for years. The guys went up just absolute lights out growing up. Not quite cut in the major junior mold. I'm sure they'd be fine, but just, smaller, faster. And that NCAA game, I thought, was just waiting for them. But, they got lured in, and they each played half a season major junior. I think in Hedges' case, 4 or 5 games with Drummondville, and they got rid of him, and now he's done, right?
Yeah.
So to me, there was way more stories like that than not. So I thought that this is overdue. Any league that it impacts, I assume, will be in a good way, unless you want to present the negatives. I don't see many.
Yeah, it's one where, you know what, there's more opportunities for players. The thing about what's going on right now in NCAA, though, with the portals and, guys are changing schools all the time. And sometimes they're chasing money, right? Because there's huge money available. Now, what people don't understand is, as of right now, Canadian players don't get any nil money because they're considered foreigners. So it's not available to them. However, the NCAA is on the verge of passing a new rule that these big universities now will be able to allocate money to players directly, and most of them will be to foreign students, whether it's European players that come in, whether it's Canadians and such. Now, it could be to some American players as well. And that could open the door. And you could see, like, Terry, if you're 19 years of age and you're playing in wherever, I don't care, pick a team, doesn't matter, Red Deer, Edmonton, in the Quebec Major Junior League, and a school comes to you and it's like, hey, you can come play for us. And oh, by the way, you're going to get $100,000. And I know that might seem crazy to some people, but there'll be a few that will get those offers.
Yeah. Now, that's obviously where there would be a problem. I would think there's some easier way to defend against that. I'm not sure what it would be, but there's some side piece of legislation. Because first of all, no matter what age you are, if you're happy where you are, you're not likely to move anyway. The money, I didn't think about. Okay. So if that would change things immensely. I don't know. That part I don't know if I do agree with. Being able to, I didn't realize you could get $100,000 to go there, Jason. I really didn't.
Yeah, well, you can't just yet. But and talking to a few WHL GMs today, that's the schools are right on the verge of, if not already on the verge of passing that. And like for some of those schools, they're going to have a pot, Terry, of $20 million, which just shows you how much money those colleges have been making off of sports for decades. Right, which everybody's always said. And so now that might, at a school like Michigan, maybe the majority of that money goes to the football program. Right, it'll all depend. But it's just, when you have that much money, you can, if you want to really try to bring in some player. We know how it works. Money talks for some people. It just does.
It does. Like for me, though, the reason that you would lift the rule of not being able to go to major junior to NCAA would be to help players like I just mentioned, Jason Hedges and Kyle McGraw, who maybe went and said, you know what, I made the wrong decision.
Yes.
There could easily be a side piece of legislation. You got 2 years in the league or whatever. If you play 70 games or 100 games of major junior, because those are the guys that are going to be offered the big money, the players that are already established, I would think. And if you're younger and you deserve a chance, you should still be able to go. And, you're probably not chasing money. You just wanted a shot to play NCAA. It didn't work out in Tri-Cities or Red Deer or wherever you were, and you might have, and if you can make that decision after a year. I always thought it protected the players who maybe went. We had all kinds of them in Tri-City. I could name them. I remember it was all kinds. The guys came in and then thought maybe they'd play a lot more, and then all of a sudden they play 13 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, and they're gone, right? And those are the guys I think should be able to get that opportunity. You're bringing money and everything in. Rather than try to solve the problem now, there's definitely some side legislation you can bring in with the league. And what that would be, who knows? But it shouldn't be being able to get $100,000 or whatever.
When we return, Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you. Landon Ferraro, former NHLer, longtime pro in Europe. He is our new pre- and post-game analyst on Sports 1440. He will join us next. Yes, that is the son of Ray. So we might even mix in a few young Ray-isms. That'll be great. On the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, and Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal
A Thursday afternoon on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. How you doing? Sports1440.ca as well. Your one-stop shop, audio or video opportunities to listen and watch the show as the Oilers day off today, licking their wounds after little bit of an ass kicking last night at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets. Day off. It was scheduled. Don't worry, it was scheduled before the game. They have Friday practice, and they'll play Saturday, Sunday. Then Monday's also a day off before they host Philadelphia on Tuesday. So we'll get into a stretch of games 3 and 4, and we'll see. You probably want to play after playing that poorly, I would think. We'll see. Anyway, our next guest is a former draft pick of the Detroit Red Wings, played for the Rebels and the Silvertips in the WHL, spent some NHL time with the Red Wings, the Bruins, and the Wild, played in the American League, and then finished his career over in Cologne, Germany, and is now the pre- and post-game analyst on Sports 1440. Landon Ferraro joins us. Landon, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm excellent. So give me your thoughts on. I know you've done a little analyst work beforehand, but now what kind of interests you or intrigues you about the analyst role?
I feel like it's the best way to stay in the game, but you aren't living and dying with each game if you're part of a coaching staff. I was an assistant in Langley in the BC Junior Hockey League here last year, and it was an awesome time, but coaching is you got to be a different breed for that one. So I'll leave that to them.
Yeah, it's a pretty big commitment. So you get thrown in first show, you're like, oh, this will be great. Ooh, this will be a lot of fun afterwards. And then the Oilers lay an egg on opening night. And you know what? The third line I thought was the Oilers' best line by a mile. The fourth line wasn't bad, other than the one goal, a little bit of an error there from Pod Colson. But really, overall, a less than desirable performance by the Oilers. You played a lot, but I know you can say it's just one game because it's true. It's just one game, but is there any concern because the major focus from this team was let's have a good start. Let's be ready to play. That's what we want, a good start this year. And then you come out like that in game one.
Yeah, it's tough for sure, right? Like you have all that excitement and you're wanting to clearly put last year behind you. McDavid was very clear on that couple days ago, and for the rest of the guys, you don't want to keep thinking about one of the worst moments, right? So you're looking to have a quick start, feel good about yourself, and they had a pretty good first couple minutes there. They were on it, they had some chances, and yet the game goes away quick, and then you can just feel a bit of that heaviness come back in. And you said it just before I came on there, like you're sure that they would love to just play again as quick as possible. Like if they could go out right now and just roll all through it again, they would take it in a second because it's just such a sour taste when it ends up like that.
What'd you think of Jeff Skinner's game last night?
It looked like a Jeff Skinner game that you're waiting for the next one to start when he's really going to be in, right? Like he's such a skilled player that relies on his just natural instincts, and it looked like he was thinking a lot last night, which took away a lot of his quickness and deceptiveness that is hard for the other defenders to play against when you're thinking you're slow, and that's what it kind of looked like to me last night.
TR?
Landon, first of all, congrats on the gig, man. I played in Red Deer as well, and I was actually playing for the Bentley Generals when you were in Red Deer as a 16, 17, 18-year-old. I watched so many games there, and now, see it all come to fruition. And after this awesome career that you've had, congrats on the gig and congrats on the career, my man.
Thank you. You're sorry, though, it cut you off there for a second. You watched me a couple times. The Bentley Generals are huge in that area. I came and watched you guys a couple times, too. We had Brian Sutter as my first coach, and then he took over back again with them. So we came out quite a bit. You guys had good teams.
I do remember that. And your assistant coach, I believe, was Jesse Wallen. So I went back to Tri-Cities I played in Tri-City as well. I went back there to drop the puck last weekend, and I just I went up to get a little spot kind of away from it all during the periods. And here was Jesse, who's now, I believe, head scout for Detroit Red Wings, or at least a scout. That's what I gathered from
he's in charge over there now. He's a great guy.
Yeah. It's a small world. Did you see yourself getting into I remember too, you were called upon a lot. I believe as a 16-year-old, you were like third or fourth in scoring with like 30 points. You guys didn't really have a great team, not a lot of scoring, but it gave you a chance to have a platform early, and you were well spoken. Did you see this in your future, or like while you were playing? Were you planning on this?
Well, for good or bad, I am a Ferraro, and if there's one thing our family's known for, it's talking. So I already kind of got that first part down. But like I said before, like it's a way to stay in the game where you get to be involved in all of it, and yet you don't have to take it home with you. So that's a plus off the start. But just seeing the joy that this job on the media side's brought my dad. He's a guy that he obviously takes a lot of pride in what he does and puts a lot of work in, and seeing that's kind of how I'd like to spend my next 20 years or so. So just trying to get moving here and enjoying it so far.
Speaking of rookies to a situation, which prospect do you think in the Oilers is closest to making an impact?
I mean, you got to be excited, and I know everyone's talked about it, and he was obviously a big talking point with Philp coming out of camp. And I mean, he takes a full year off, and he comes back this close to making the team. It's it's a story you gotta follow, but another big body that he can use in that bottom six to help kind of try and build some space for everyone out there.
Landon Ferraro joins us. Landon, you look at the Jets, and it was interesting. I was talking to a scout from another team last night, and it meant like Winnipeg kind of picked up where they left off in the regular season as far as their defensive game. They didn't give up a ton last night. There was a few, and then Edmonton actually kind of passed up on some of their best chances. But the Jets were the best defensive team in the league in the regular season, and then got absolutely caved in the postseason. He felt as a scout that teams that play the kind of the way the Jets play, it's easier for them to start a season. You're more of an offensive guy. Do you agree with that? Or is that just, Winnipeg, hey, Hellebuck's a good goalie. They had a good game. Edmonton didn't have a good game. Or do you think there's something to the teams that are a little bit more grinders, and that's why that third line of Winnipeg dominated so much?
Yeah, I would agree with that, right? Like, I feel like, in junior I was on the scoring lines, and it always takes a bit to get your touch going, right? Like, just, you're not... when you're going down on a 2-on-1 in the first game of the season, like, you're so excited and you're going to try and pick that corner perfectly. When you're feeling it and you're into the game a little bit, you're going down and you know where you're shooting, but you're not trying to aim it anymore. Like, it's just natural, right? Like, your body kind of takes over. But on the defensive side, as I got older, and that's kind of more my role, it was easier because you're already set. Like, as long as your wind is there and you know what you're supposed to be doing off or defensively, it's a lot easier because the other guys have to make the puck work. For me, you just have to attack hard, take as much time and space away as possible. So while they're uncomfortable, you can take advantage of forcing them into a play quick. Like, it's things like that where it's a little easier on the defensive side for sure at the beginning of the year.
You look at the orders, and where do you come out on a guy like Stuart Skinner? I think Stuart Skinner's had a lot of improvement. When I look at his rookie year, he gets thrust in to be a starter when he probably shouldn't have been a starter. He never really got to be a backup in the NHL, and I think there's a lot of value in that. And, last year he got pulled, then he came back. It was really good. His numbers under Knobloch were great. I think Stuart Skinner's a really good goaltender, and I think he's only going to get better. There's others that aren't as high in him. Where do you come in on Skinner?
I would be on the side of I think I believe in him. I wouldn't be all the way across on that side that he's going to be like this absolute wall in there. But at the same time, I think he can easily provide enough stops to where they're going to outscore the opponent anyway. Obviously that's tough to say after just losing 6-0, but I mean, that's not happening every night, right? But I think for the Oilers, like, they don't need to have the best goalie in there. They need someone that can make the stops that are expected of them, and then maybe one or two past that. Like, looking at last night, like, there's a lot of turnovers and missed assignments that lead to a lot of those chances. Like, the one that stands out to me is the second goal where Nurse runs all the way outside, but that doesn't, like, I like that he runs there. Arvidsson goes for a change and he leaves the player driving all the way down. Like, he loses his man Nurse forces the player into a quick play, but now no one's there. That should have been right onto Arvidsson's tape, and now that chance doesn't even happen for Skinner, right? So as the team starts to kind of clean up what they're doing in front of them, it's going to make the job a bit easier for them.
I like what you point out there, because I think sometimes people say, oh, Nurse should have ran at him. I agree with you. He makes that play, and now it's up to your winger to continue to go where the direction is. And that just might be first game where, maybe you're not as sharp as you normally would be, right? Like sometimes I think it's those you talked earlier about coming on a 2-on-1 where you're thinking more than reacting. I have to think for some of the defensive guys, even as not that Arvidsson's like a Selke trophy winner or anything like that, but just normally that might be a play that he reads better and anticipates and makes the better play.
100%. Like, he's not going to blow that assignment. Well, definitely after he sees this one, he's going to be a little more dialed in. But like, as he gets more comfortable in the system, and also just as the season gets going, like, he's not going to blow that assignment. But when Nurse looks up and he scans the ice quick as the rush is coming at him, like, he sees Arvidsson on the D side. So he knows as soon as that puck goes out wide, I need to close quick. But as soon as he loses it, now he's the one that kind of looks out of place all of a sudden, right? But it's not on him. You want him to be aggressive. You just need your support.
And did you see any positives last night for the Oil?
I mean, you got to take the third line for sure. It would have been awesome to see Brown get one of those to go in. He had a couple really good chances just with how he started last year, but that line looked great. At the same time, Hyman, what do we got? Hyman, Draisaitl, Hopkins, and McDavid are all -2, right? So you clean that up. They had their chances. They ran into a goalie that was very, very on top of it last night, especially, he was bouncing or dropping some pucks early, but as soon as he made that save on Arvidsson to keep it 2-0, he cleaned up and that game was done. But, I mean, at the same time, they had chances. They're going to be a team that's obviously going to clean up a little bit here, but they're going to get rolling, and they'll take their spots towards the top of the league for sure, as they should.
Landon, great stuff, man. We look forward to listening to you, of course, Saturday and Sunday and next Tuesday here on the pre- and post-game show on Sports 1440 with Andrew Walker and Donovan Paulson. And we'll talk to you again soon, man. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the team.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Have a good one, guys.
There you go. That is Landon Ferraro. He is the new analyst here on Sports 1440 in the pregame show, which debuted last night. I thought they did a great job. So if you like that type of analyst, like that was a great breakdown of the goal, because we've had people text in, see Nurse, he runs all around. That's not running around. You want if you're aggressive in your play, there's a lot of times where you're making that move because you're expecting your player to do his job. And if he doesn't do your job, then you look bad. But in film work, they're not going to be pressing on Nurse on that goal. They're going to be say, hey, Arvidsson, you got to be better there. When we come back, Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you. Colin Livingston will join us on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
You'll see us digging holes. No, we're not looking for buried treasure. You'll see us digging trenches as well.
PoppyJohns.ca.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.347. Welcome back. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. It is always the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get the game daily grand, $1,000 a day for 20 years. Woo, you will just be relaxing. I got my tickets. Of course, everybody wants to win the big one, but I don't have to be greedy. I just want to get that joy of $1,000 a day. God, that'd be nice. Real nice. I wouldn't scoff at winning the big one either, don't get me wrong. But just saying something. I think my odds are better. So play the odds. Let's get to the racing report now, brought to you by Can Torque. They offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Learn more at cantorque.com. It's Colin Livingston. Joins us in studio again. Colin, we're going to play a little Q&A today just because it's kind of a rare downtime in racing until they get back in F1. We have a few questions. People on text line can always text in 833-401-1440. We do have one from Matt. He was asking, does Colin know Perez is leading that estimated crash damage at like 4.5 million in damages here. Now, I know that they don't pay for damages per se, but it seems, is this abnormally high to have this much, like almost $5 million in damage in a car?
Yeah, he's definitely charting or in uncharted waters. Really fascinating, because if you take a look at that, you'll also see, Perez still has a seat, but Danny Ricciardo was at like 1.5 million, $1.7 million, something like that. And he lost his ride. So, once you get to, truly professional racing, whether it's IndyCar, Formula One, the full-time contract drivers in NASCAR, they're not paying crash damage. The lower series, NASCAR Canada, yeah, you definitely are. Indy Lights, Indy NXT, whatever the heck they call it now, those kids will be paying for crash damage for the most part. But it gets factored at the end of the year generally, because you want to take a look at, how your driver performed plus what it cost. And in Formula One right now, with the cost cap, if you actually, Perez is going to get really close to running that team budget out of money,
right? Because
they factor, I can't remember what the number was, but it's something like, 3 or 5% of the team budget at $135 million. They factor that into their budget when they start getting close, and Perez is definitely at the threshold of what they would have budgeted. They have to start taking that money from somewhere else, which means that the car won't be developed as much. They won't be able to do as much, development. They won't be able to come up with all the improvements, which the team will definitely factor in the offseason.
Now, so you mentioned that these other drivers, so let's say, I don't know if you get called up and there's an opening in the truck series or something. So if you crash, like what if somebody crashed, let's say you're driving everything and you're doing nothing wrong and someone wipes you out, you're on the hook?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, without question. We've seen it again in NASCAR Canada. It happens all the time. You're not doing anything wrong. Somebody makes a move. The car comes back with damage on it. The team is going to charge you to get that car back to new condition. And as you move up the ladder, whether you're in NASCAR example, if you're in the truck series, the Xfinity series, those repair bills,
I was going to think,
aren't cheap.
There's no joke.
For the most part, body work isn't all that expensive because it's aluminum. There are some carbon fiber components on there, but those are purchased. But if you start, if you get like what we call the front clip, the part of the front of the car where the engine's mounted, if that has to be replaced in an Xfinity car, that's not cheap. And generally, if you damage the front clip, you've probably hurt the engine. in our series, those engines are about 50 grand US in the high, like
So you could have a crash and it might cost you 100 grand.
In theory, yeah. I mean, our teammate Donald Teague, he runs his own team. So like for him, whatever damage happens to the car, he has to pay to fix it. It's not like he's got somebody that'll sign a check for that.
Yeah.
Got taken out at Riverside. I'm not going to throw the other driver under the bus, but the cost to repair the car was something like $35,000 or $40,000. And it was something that Donald had, like, he was just a passenger. And it comes back to, a conversation that happens in the NASCAR hauler at the end of the day to say, like, okay, listen, we understand that this stuff happens in racing, but why wasn't that driver penalized? That driver ended up taking out another car, causing a crazy high dollar amount of damage, and then gets to walk away scot-free. They cause the accident. We get the we have all the repercussions, and they just drive off, and NASCAR says, we didn't see it that way.
Wow.
Pretty frustrating.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty big price tag to have to pay. Now, I want to get into Michael Andretti stepped down from the day-to-day operations for Andretti Global. And, Formula One management, you know what? They've jumped up significantly of interest in the United States. They have the 3 teams, but they don't want to seem to allow an American team in. It seems somewhat, a two-faced, let's call it what it is. Do you see this changing? And do you think, I don't know if the average American or Canadian race fan really cares that much, although like Lance Stroll's dad's involved, right? And he's Canadian. So why are they so staunch in not allowing Andretti to get a team?
The word that comes to mind is collusion, first of all. And then there's definitely been some bias expressed against Michael Andretti for whatever reason. There are a handful of people within that group that just don't like him. And Mario, who's one of the most likable guys on the planet. I've been fortunate enough to meet Mr. Andretti a handful of times. I also, a little side note, I think I'm the only person on the planet, and I'm not 100% sure, and somebody can try and prove me wrong. I'm the only person on the planet, I believe, that has been driven around in an Indy car by Mario Andretti and played golf with Arnold Palmer. I don't know that anybody else can say that. That's one of my claims to fame, but I'm able to claim that stat. But while Mario is super, super likable, Michael can be a little bit more contentious. He's a little bit more emotional. And there have been people within the Formula One group that have said, listen, under no circumstance is Michael going to get a team. Now, that being said, Andretti Global is still pushing ahead. There's still, and Cadillac is still pushing ahead to try and get that position. And I don't think that this is posturing. I think Michael's just kind of had enough. And as a fellow entrepreneur, I understand that. There are times when you get into that situation where you believe in what you're doing, you're doing a good job, you're trying to put everyone's needs out there, but you get this pushback from customers who don't want to pay their bill, and you get this, that, and the other thing, and eventually you kind of take a look and say, well, what am I putting all this effort in for? So I don't disagree with Michael stepping away, and if that's what's best for him and his family at this period of time, kudos. He doesn't owe anyone anything at this point in his career. He's kind of done it all. He's a champion in IndyCar. He did manage to race in Formula One. He's aside from winning the Indy 500, he's pretty much done it all. So, and built a really good team. And the guys that are left behind, like our friend Rob Edwards, who's the general manager or CEO of Andretti, he'll definitely put the right people in the right positions, and that team will carry on as if they haven't missed a beat.
You look at, we got another question coming in about the, how do they determine, like, who puts the price point? Do they get a reduction on these costs for the drivers? Or is it in your contract when you sign that if we say it's 40 grand, then you owe 40? Is there?
There's no negotiating. They give you the bill and you pay it.
Okay. What if you can't, like, let's say you're a young driver, like I guess maybe these drivers all have 40K kicking around. I don't know, but.
No, I mean, there's a lot of times where drivers will overextend themselves. I mean, very publicly known current IndyCar driver Santino Ferrucci.
Yeah.
He ended up with some crash damage when he was racing Formula 2, left a big bill unpaid. He won't be able to race in any of the Formula Series ever again, but he's managed to make a home. No, because, the other teams know that this one team, theoretically got stiffed.
Okay. They don't want to take the risk.
They won't like, there is a lot of collusive behavior that happens in all forms of racing. But he's kind of found his home in IndyCar, and when he's not fighting with Romain Grosjean, he seems to be doing just fine. But no, like, whatever the team says the bill is, you might be able to sit down with the team owner and say, listen, I don't know why you're charging me 12 hours for this, because I saw it only took 6. I don't know why, I know I bought this part for another thing and you're charging me. You might be able to get a little wiggle room that way, and the team will likely defer some of that cost if they know you're coming back next year with sponsor dollar. But in general, you are without question at the whim of the team.
Looking at this question comes from Paul. Colin, do you see Daniel Ricciardo landing in any other racing format?
Without question, yeah. I think Danny's I think he'll take a little bit of time off, kind of get his head right. That he's been approached by the V8 Supercar Series, so the Aussie kind of homegrown racing series. It's really awesome. I can say without hesitation, though, it'll take an act of God to get him to look at IndyCar. He's made a lot of comments since his release that racing in IndyCar scares him. Which, after coming through Formula 1, you wouldn't think a lot could get a driver's attention, but the idea of running an open wheel car on ovals like Indianapolis, Milwaukee, Texas, those cars are always on the very, very threshold of losing control every single lap. So the idea of, going 220, 230 miles an hour, losing control and getting fenced, I can see why it's maybe got his attention. But again, there's several drivers who have made the switch, Marcus Ericsson, Romain Grosjean, that have come out of Formula 1, have been having a level of success that, maybe he can pick their brain and find out that it's not as scary as he's making it out to be. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure where he'll end up. I hope, he's so good for any series. I
very personable.
It would really kill me though if he executes his hillbilly card, because he's a big, fan of American sports. He's a big Buffalo Bills fan. He loves,
but he doesn't like ovals. He's not going to go to NASCAR, would he?
He might, but NASCAR is not scary because the cars there's so much crush zone.
Yeah,
the drivers are enclosed. There's all, like, even when they tumble, there's roll bars and all the rest of it. That would be a really, really, really discouraging move for me as a fan of Danny's.
That would be interesting. Well, Colin, we'll chat. We've got a few more questions, but we'll save those for next Thursday. Some other racing stuff. Even I got a few ideas on the Pinty series, and changes coming there. What can they do? How can they make it better? Some of the challenges they're dealing with. We'll discuss that next week. Have a good one.
Look forward to it, man. Thanks a lot.
There you go. That's Colin Livingston in the Racing Report, brought to you by Can Torque. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update, brought to you by Fountain Tire. Big deals are happening right now at Fountain Tire. You can save up to 25% off select Goodyear, Cooper, and Dunlop tires. And you can get a bonus of $50 for any service of $150 or more, but only until October 19th. Book your appointment at fountaintire.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers placed Raphael Lavoie on waivers today, marking the third time he's been on waivers since Sunday. Of course, the team claimed him yesterday back from the Vegas Golden Knights. Columbus Blue Jackets captain Boone Jenner underwent shoulder surgery on Wednesday. GM Don Waddell saying Jenner's timeline for recovery is 5 to 6 months. The team is hopeful he can return at some point this season. And the Jets have placed goaltender Capo Kakinen on waivers. Move likely ends a 3-goaltender situation in Winnipeg. Looks like Eric Comrie will back up Connor Halley. On the ice tonight, it's a busy one. You got games including the Bruins and the Canadiens, the Kings in Buffalo, Leafs taking on the Devils, Sens host the Panthers, Red Wings up against the Penguins, Wild hosting the Blue Jackets, and the Blues in San Jose. Week 6 in the NFL will kick off tonight down in Seattle as the Seahawks host the San Francisco 49ers. That one gets going at 6:15. Major League Baseball playoffs. The Detroit Tigers look to wrap up their series with the Guardians. That in about 8 minutes. Then at 6:10, you got the Yankees in Kansas City taking on the Royals. Yankees lead that series 2-1. WNBA Finals tonight. The Liberty host the Lynx. Tip off 6 o'clock. And in the preseason, you got the Pacers, Cavs, Jazz, Mavericks. The Grizz host the Hornets, and the Lakers taking on the Bucks. And some news from the tennis world as Rafael Nadal is retiring at the age of 38. He made that announcement earlier today. He's won 22 Grand Slam titles, including 14 at the French Open. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be back with Terry Ryan for Ryan's Rant. We'll be joined by Ian Furness out in Seattle, talk a little Seahawks and Kraken. Plus, we'll ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray radio station. CHJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
I'm Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And I'm Zach Hyman. And when we're not making juicy, sweet passes or having my goals disallowed, we're working for Legacy Heating and Cooling. You know, guys used to call me a plumber. And now they call you an HVAC technician. Nice.
Hey, guys, you're not here to install furnaces. You're here to sing the jingle.
Oh.
Well.
Okay. Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
No payments and no interest for 1 year from qualified installers. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Need a truck? Want a great deal on a truck? Get into Wolf GMC Buick. It's GMC's Canada-wide clearance. Take advantage of 0% financing on Sierra half-tons. Oh, and guess what? GMC employee pricing is back on all in-stock 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons. That means thousands of dollars in savings on GMC Sierra 3/4 ton and 1 ton. Also thousands off the industry-leading SUV, the GMC Yukon. Get to Wolf GMC Buick now and drive away with money off and a smile on. Just off the Anthony Henday.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I want to talk to you about your roof. Actually, I'm talking about the roof on your house. If your roof were to spring a leak, how soon would you want to fix it?
Pretty much the instant you discover it, Rick.
That's right, Bob. The damage it can do to your home is measured in minutes, not weeks. But if you have a leak in your RV while it's stored away for the winter, this can lead to catastrophic problems because you wouldn't even know what's happened until spring with months of damage already done.
Manufacturers recommend a roof assessment at least every year.
Right again, Bob. That's why No Bull RV offers free roof assessments every fall. We'll climb up there and check the condition of your RV's roof and give you a detailed report in writing. That way, you'll know if your RV is ready for another harsh northern Alberta winter. It's a free service we provide, and it could save you thousands in repair costs down the road.
And that's No Bull.
NobleRV.ca.
Terry back. Just after 4 o'clock, we return on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Sports1440.ca. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Of course, the Oilers, day off today. They'll be back in action on Saturday. And also the Elks. So you can watch the Elks game at 5 o'clock on, I think it's 5 o'clock on Saturday. They are in Calgary to take on the, 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. So even more time. So you can watch the afternoon affair at 1. And then they got the Elks. Heck, you could, if you wanted, you could go to Calgary, watch the game at 1, get out of there, and still make it back home in time to watch the Oilers against the Chicago Blackhawks. If you wanted to, you could do it. A little bit of a diehard, but it's an option. Or you could just watch the Edmonton game on the road in Calgary and then see the Oilers taking on the Bedard-led Chicago Blackhawks, who will be in Winnipeg tomorrow night. The Elks will have Trey Ford starting at quarterback. How long does he play? That will be the question, as they say they are going to give their other young quarterbacks some playing time. I'm not sure why, but hey, they're never going to do anything. They're going to be so stubborn to say, we aren't sold on Ford, that he'll throw one bad pass, and I wouldn't be shocked if they take him out. I talked to a few football people the other day. They're like, they can't believe how they've handled Ford. It doesn't make much sense to me. No. And I talked to somebody who's in the room, because there seems to be a little, Trey Ford's, it's not great in the room. Guys who was in the room says, I haven't seen that at all for the 2.5 years he's been here. So I wouldn't buy that little rumbling either. Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan is with us here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. And TR, obviously it was not a great game at all for the Oilers last night, but there was, it was shutouts all over the place. The Rangers shut out the Penguins. Montreal gets the shutout, although they got outshot by 47, which is funny because we were looking at the amount of shutouts that happened, and teams who had 40 shots and lost last year was higher than teams who had 40 shots and won. It's just a strange thing. It's almost like the goalie just gets in a great rhythm and then they can't score.
I know. I saw that stat and couldn't believe it. I started to think of reasons. Are you pressing? Are you just firing everything at the net, which sometimes works. You might hope for deflection. I mean, Matthews nearly scored that's what they were waiting for, right? Yeah. That flutter in front of the net and that shot, and it just didn't go in. But I know that mystifies me. There's certain stats in sports that I just don't understand, and that's why analytics work most of the time, but sometimes they don't.
Oh yeah, well there's never a guarantee that something is going to turn out the way you want. Well, the numbers say this, the numbers say that. Yeah, the numbers can say a lot of things, but it's just it's one element. It doesn't always mean that it's going to pan out the way that they want it to by any stretch of the imagination. I look at was there anything for you that stood out? Other than the obvious, hey, Edmonton didn't play their best game. Was there anything that surprised you positively or negatively from that game last night?
I really I fell asleep. It's like 2 a.m. I fell asleep with it halfway through the third. But I really did like Connor Brown's game. And Hyman is not just sitting on that 54. I knew he'd work hard, but I know he's -2, but I really continue to like Zach's game. He works real hard and he wins battles in the corners that a lot of people wouldn't win. But there's not really much to take home. Now, that being said, I'm not going to dwell on anything either. Like you said about Skinner, I mean, come on, guys. It's one game. I think at this point he's proven that he can have a bad streak and come back stronger, right? I mean, the law of averages, it usually works out. I'm certainly not as panic button driven as a lot of people. I expect it in a big market, but I just thought it was blah. They didn't come out tenacious. It looked like they lacked some kind of, not identity. They lacked intensity, and unfortunate because I didn't expect it. But that's not the Edmonton Oilers that you're going to see most of the year. I think everybody can agree with that. And judging from what on a second thought of that question or statement you made earlier with the momentum and teams getting over 40 shots and often being unsuccessful. that I brought up analytics, but I think that's a way the analytics can actually bring out momentum, which means, that sixth sense that you're not computing. Because what you're clearly seeing, if that's more shots would normally mean more goals. But, people get into a rhythm, right? And it's not always easily analytically tracked. But clearly that's it. And if you watch any of these games, especially the one last night, you would see that, the more shots on Montembeault, and then you get the momentum behind you, the players, but the fans, the fans were just, it reminded me of the days of Jose Theodore or Patrick Waugh. I'd say Ken Dryden, but I don't really remember those days. But, goalies, pitchers, three-point shooters, they run into a rhythm, right? And what is that? It's not always just black and white. And, unfortunately, the shoe was on the other foot. I thought Winnipeg came with the intensity that I expected to see from Edmonton. And Winnipeg showed a surprising amount of depth, to be honest. They didn't show a lot of holes in that lineup. But it is one game. And, the Oilers did play until July, right? Which just happened, right? Like, I don't know. Like, for me, I give them, it's any team that goes far into the playoffs, it'll be more of an idea what happens after 5 games, even 10.
Yeah, I'm looking. So if you look at last season, there's quite a few games where goalies, I think, if we include Montembeault this year. So last year, there's a situation, there was 217 games last year where goalies faced at least 40 shots, right? And they ended up, it looks like they won 114 of those games, which not bad, right? And now I'm trying to find out how many actually got to overtime, because if you get to overtime, you're still getting a point for your team, right? And looking at the overtime records, it looks like there was I'm doing this on the fly, so my apologies. 31. So you're 100. So right there is 144 games where you got a point for your team, and there was only 217 that you lost the game outright. So funny enough, goalies facing 40 shots, they have a better record than they don't. It's odd. I think sometimes maybe it gets in their head. The goalie gets good. The player's like, oh my God, I can't shoot. And we're going to score on this guy. It's a brick wall. It's mental. Who knows? Or maybe, the other things, Terry, sometimes not all shots are created equal. Now you're 20 shots in, you're 25. And that old adage, with some people really don't like to promote anymore. Just put pucks on net. Just put pucks on net. Because there is actual data that tells you that just throwing a puck on net, if it's shooting the pad is one thing. And if it's shooting through traffic, that's totally different. But if you're just shooting for the sake of shooting, put pucks on net, good things can happen. More often than not, that's not true anymore, right? Like the numbers actually say the opposite. And so I wonder, though, if you're down, 1-0 in a game, you fire 25 shots, you feel you can't beat the goalie. If then subconsciously you're like, well, I just got to put it on net. So now you start putting more on net and the shot totals go up, but the quality of chances don't go up.
Yeah, and I like that strategy. I was just, there's a lot to unpack with those stats that you're releasing there, but that's another thing. Like what you just said. If for me, how many times have I been halfway through the game and just looked at everybody, or as a leader, or even looked at the coach and say, we should just fire everything in there, and eventually it was going to hit something and bounce out front, and we're going to get a goal, which often does happen. But your shots definitely go because you're not thinking like that off the start of the game. You might say you are, let's get shots, but it's not quite panic mode. Now, the other thing, and now maybe, I don't know, Joaquin Gage or Jamie Noodles McLennan, guys like that who come on the show once in a while, I believe, maybe they could answer this better than me. But as a forward, okay, if I'm a goalie, I might have 20 shots. It's not a lot. I might have 15. But I might go a period and only have one. Mm-hmm. And often you're cold. And as much as that might sound crazy to someone that it doesn't go out there and perform athletically, especially hockey, whatever, because you do get cold, but your body just doesn't get cold, and that's science. I don't care if you're 20 years old, your body gets cold if you're not using it, and it's also mental. So if you really think about it, I'd rather, I'm not a goalie, but I think I'd rather at least a consistent amount of shots, whether it was 2 a period or 8, you know?
Yes. Yeah, Marty Brodeur was one of the best goalies at playing well with limited shots. I remember Grant Fuhr telling us he didn't like it at all, right? Like, you can go a long stretch, you're not feeling the puck. It's not good. Now, you don't want to be getting bombarded with quality chance after quality chance either. Right. But most goalies would say if you gave them a choice, they'd rather be able to have a more steady flow of shots than going long stretches without any, right? But it's a different level for goalies. Some goalies thrive on it. Marty Brodeur was one of the best, especially early on in his career. Because thing is, he could go a stretch, and then all of a sudden, you it's not just a shot you get a really quality chance. And that's where I thought Marty Brodeur was unreal at, is that even if we went long periods of time without a quality chance, when he faced the next one, more often than not, he saved it. And that made it, that's what made him a Hall of Famer. And obviously the winningest goalie ever in NHL history. I don't think it's a surprise, because that was the one area of his game that he really excelled at.
And a perfect fit, Jason, for the team they had. A perfect fit, right? That was a marriage made in heaven, though. That an absolutely perfect goalie for the team that they had. And I mean, they knew that, but still, every team isn't so fortunate. You might go 10 years and not get a goalie that fits your squad.
Yeah. Lastly, Emberson only played his 31st NHL game. Are the Oilers better off playing Dermott in the second pair and letting Emberson get comfortable in the third pair?
I still think it's early, but I would think so. There's something to be said for that. Any of these, not landmark, but notable games, I would always go with someone who's played more. If it comes down to it, whether that's a first playoff game, a first game of the season, maybe you're back in your hometown, or I remember coming back here to my hometown, and as much as I say bad about Michel Therrien, he did come and ask me if I wanted to start, and I said no, I'd rather not. I think it's going to take all the it's going to absorb all this energy that we and I don't really need right now. I'll go out there second. I'll even play double shift if you want me to, but I don't want to hear that name at the very start of the game. For a lot of reasons. So, sometimes it works the other way, and you just go with what people are comfortable. And me, I was a fairly relaxed player. I mean, I got anxiety, but I used it to my advantage, and I was usually prepared one way or the other. But there was often situations like that. I'm like, it's going to be a total sideshow, so I'd rather just
avoid it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so some coach will ask. Well, that makes sense. Jason Gregor, turning around with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It's a Gregor Show, is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca. We'll return. Ian Furness will join us, some NHL and NFL Seattle version next on the Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Ain't it beautiful?
The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting a new industry standard. Celebrating a legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
At Fountain Tire, we love jingles. Get up to 25% off select tires.
Until October 19th.
Plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150.
Restrictions apply.
Book online today. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Carve out for a cause at the 6th annual Jason Gregor Pizza Takeout presented by Swift. Thursday, October 24th at the Canadian Ice House. Indulge in unlimited pizza while raising some dough for kids' sport. Vote for your favorite slice to crown the People's Choice Awards winners. Don't miss Edmonton's biggest pizza party with Gregor broadcasting live. Tickets are $60 or $200 for a group of 4. Adults only. Buy your tickets today. For more details, see jasongregorpizzapigout.com.
We've finished construction of our gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
I couldn't ignore it. Everyone kept saying, "You look so tired."
Are you getting enough sleep, dear?
Hon, you look like you need some rest.
But I'm not tired. I guess I just look that way.
But you don't have to. I'm Dr. Vance Elliott, and I provide skin-refreshing treatments designed to give you a fresh and natural appearance. Don't worry, we won't drastically change how you look, but we will help you look as energetic as you feel. Book your consultation today at drvanceelliott.com.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there, now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the original, the Orangesicle, and the Marathon, made with cranberries, bananas, strawberries, orange sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
It's Midnight Madness at the Brick. Stores will be closed on Friday to lower prices and then reopen at 5 p.m. with incredible 7-hour deals in every department. Get 30% off furniture and free local delivery when you spend $4.99 or more. Plus, get 40% off mattresses and buy any TV or appliance to get a $50 credit for furniture, home decor, and mattresses. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more. Connor Halley on a busy Thursday afternoon on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca. You can always get involved. Text us 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440 in our inbox. Your partner in power since 1975. All your electrical gear, one safe place, ewel.ca. Of course, it is a Thursday nighter in the National Football League. And you know what? The Jets, if you missed it, they have demoted. Their offensive coordinator will no longer be calling the plays. San Fran is 2-3. Seattle is 3-2. They go at it tonight. We will see how that one unfolds. Should be an interesting game. So to talk about the Seahawks, but also a little Kraken and maybe even a little Tri-City Americans if we go back in time. Get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by Silent Rides Charter Company, one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches that will safely take you or your group to your next destination. Book your ride online at silentrides.ca. Ian Furness joins us now from Seattle, of course, from 93.3 KJR. But before we get to the Seahawks and the Kraken, Ian, you used to be the voice of a young Terry Ryan. You were calling the games when old TR was. Did you not call his 50th goal?
It was probably the best goal call I've ever had.
Really?
Oh yeah.
No. No, I did call it. I called all 50 plus that year for him and Lanks. And TR, what's up, buddy? They put you on the radio, live radio up there? What the hell are they thinking?
I know. Hey, I'm still fooling them. We're over a year in now. And, I'm joining your world. I went back, Ian. I was in Tri-Cities for their opener. Wild on so many levels. But it's great to have you. And by the way, but more that I love the 50 call, but that Game 7 overtime is that still sends chills through my body. The 50 was nice. And I don't know if I scored it. For the listening public there, with 28 seconds left in the season, I scored my 49th with like 4 minutes left, shorthanded, with one glove on. So it was very unlikely it was going to happen, and both were great. But that Game 7 overtime is still a moment that gives me shivers.
Did you score or did Hurley score? I thought Hurl said he scored that one. I couldn't tell.
I know that he'll always say, and it's, you know what, he could have. I'll give you this. For me to score a wrist shot from out there was rather odd on Ferret Daniel, who seemed to have our number a lot and was I won't say great, but a way above average goalie in the history of junior hockey. Look back, he had great numbers, ended up going to McGill. I shot it from there. Now, the camera certainly doesn't really catch it. It almost does. And I believe Mike Hatzenpratz, the referee, he told me that it went straight in, so I'm going to go with that. So Hurls, even though he might have an argument, I think history is going to say otherwise, and the further we get away, the more it just becomes a distant memory. Ryan from Lankow and Hurley.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it was good. Jason, I can tell you this, that I did 6 years in the Dub, doing play-by-play. Seattle for 3 and 3 in Tri-Cities. That team in Tri-Cities with Terry, Damon Lankow, Brian Boucher. I think I can say this. We had the two natives, Indian Outlaws, we called them. You can't do that anymore. But in Jeremy Thompson and Craig Stahl, it was the toughest, most skilled team I can ever remember in the WHL. It was crazy. Those guys could do whatever they wanted. They could drop the mitts, they'd beat you up, and then they'd score about 5 or 6 goals on you in about 30 seconds. It was a ton. Bob Laux was the coach. It was a ton. That was a ton of fun back in the day.
Oh,
yeah, that was fun. Some of my best memories.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about, and TR said it. He goes, they just couldn't get by Kamloops. And Struddy always reminds him about it every now and then. So, yeah, it was.
Strudwick, yeah. Strudwick. Well, it's pretty hard when you have, your entire lineup plays in the NHL.
Yeah.
Like, that's the team you go against. They
were a bit older, Ian. Like, they were versions of us that were older. Like, everybody you mentioned for us were in our draft year, right? And then, Boyd Olsen and other guys driving the ship on other lines were all young. And those players, I mean, you remember they had Jerome McGinley and Shane Doan, but the boys were on the third line. Yeah. Like, they're you know what I mean? Like, they were depth players, right? You're talking Tyson Nash was sometimes on their fourth line, 400 NHL games, right? You're talking about Nat Kelly, who in junior was phenomenal. You get Tucker, obviously, but you keep going. I remember Brad Lukowicz was their 5th defenseman. He has 2 Stanley Cups.
Not bad team.
And most of them are from Edmonton. Most of them are from Edmonton, probably listening right now as well. So, all those guys. So, but good to be on with you fellas. Good to be on. Good to hear your voice.
Now let's talk a little NFL and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Obviously disappointing loss. Like the Giants actually looked really good in that game. Obviously I don't think Seattle liked it, Ian. So when you break down the film afterwards, what went wrong in Seattle that they can try to change this week? Was it too simple to say they just didn't get the run game going?
Yeah, to a point, but they couldn't stop the run either.
Yeah.
I mean, the Giants ran wild against them, and Daniel Jones did whatever he wanted, running the ball or throwing the ball. A quarterback that is not good, and it was Geno Smith, the Seattle quarterback, said afterwards, and this is I both disturbing but also honest. He said, they wanted it more. They were more fired up. They just played harder and better prepared and all that. And I think that was true. Football is a lot like hockey. I make this equation all the time, even before we got the Kraken here, that, there's two sports I really believe are try-hard sports, and that's hockey and football. And you can get by with a little bit less talent if you just give it a little bit more. I mean, TR is a good example. He wasn't the best skater. He wasn't the biggest guy. He's a first-round pick, and, if not for a couple concussions and things like that, would probably even had a really nice NHL career. But he tried hard. Like, he tried hard every night. You play hard, and football's that way too. And I think after the Detroit Monday night game, when they were close to a really good team on the road, and everybody came out of that game, Jason, with the narrative was, wow, hey, good effort, good game, more positives and negatives in a loss. And I think when the Giants rolled into town, they just figured that would be a W, and you get ready for Thursday night football. And the NFL is built on parity, and you can't do that. And they just got slapped around in their own building.
So you look ahead to tonight, the 49ers, they're still obviously missing a lot of their key players. But Brock Purdy, I was looking at some of his numbers because defenses have been throwing a lot of different looks at him this year. And I actually think I know his numbers don't show. I think he's been a better quarterback this season. How do you expect the defense of the Seahawks to try to go after Purdy and slow down that offense tonight?
Well, I think the one key is that he's thrown the ball deep more often and more accurately than any quarterback in the NFL this year has. And especially between the numbers. And that's where Seattle has really been hurting. Their second level of defense, I think Farhan's on with you later, right? He'll tell you that. It's the second level of defense for Seattle. The two linebackers, specifically Dotson and Baker, are just not up to snuff. And George Kittle is coming off a little bit of an injury. He's going to play, but that's the kind of guy that can kill this defense. They're missing a couple dudes up front. Chenanu Osu is best edge guy. Byron Murphy's a rookie out of Texas. It's one of their best interior linemen. It's just a game wrecker. He's out. They're missing their probably their number 2 cornerback, Henrique Woolen. He's not going to play. So Purdy's going to have a chance to do what he wants to do. And without Christian McCaffrey, McCaffrey plays, they dink and dunk and screen pass you to death and, all that kind of stuff. Without him in the lineup, they're like it. They want to drive the ball down the field to Ayuk and to Jennings and maybe Samuel, although Debo hasn't had a good start. So that's troublesome for Seattle on that side of the ball for sure.
Ian, is signing Geno a priority? And, what if they come out on top in this game? Would it be more of a priority, or is it pressing?
It's an interesting question, TR, because there's a lot of talk here about the lack of running game for Seattle. The last couple weeks specifically, especially when Ken Walker came back, their top running back. He only had 5 carries, only 5 rushing attempts last week. They only had 7 rushing attempts designed as a team. Geno had some scrambles. Those don't count. And usually when you watch Seattle play in Thursday Night Football, you watch guys up there, they'll do a no huddle a lot. But they'll take the play clock all the way down to the end, and Geno will make the call at the line of scrimmage. So we have 2 plays in his head from the offensive coordinator, and there's been a thought that he's been checking out of the run plays into passing plays to boost his numbers in a contract situation, things like that. I don't think he's doing that. Mike Holmgren's a former NFL coach, be a Hall of Famer. He comes in the studio with me every week. He says, I don't think he's doing that because he just doesn't like the looks he's getting in the line of scrimmage. But there's a lot of talk about what you do with Geno's contract. Geno Smith is probably somewhere between 12 and 15 if you're ranking the top quarterbacks in the NFL out of 32. He's probably in that 12-15 range.
Yep.
He's got 1 year left on his deal. The key there is that they'll renegotiate in the spring, but one game won't dictate it. The season will. He's been pretty good, and teams are dying to find. Look at the Raiders, man. They can't find a quarterback. Carolina can't find a quarterback. I mean, it's hard to find a quarterback in this league. I think they'll extend him at some point. But, tonight will be interesting because he has not beat the 49ers. The last Seattle win over San Francisco came in 2021 when the little Danger Russ was in there playing quarterback for him.
Dangerous. Ian Furness joins us. Ian, moving from football to hockey, and the Kraken for the first time ever, they started home, and they got up. They're 2-0. Everything's going well. The building's nuts. They unveil Eberle as their captain, and then boom, 3 goals in $1.55, and they lose that game. Yeah, it's really 2 minutes of the game. They're, for a long stretch, they're the better team. What do you make of the Kraken this season? And because when they made the playoffs, it was the utopia offense. Everybody had 13 goals. It was completely balanced and it worked. And I just don't think it's realistic. What do you make of their team, and what's your expectations for Wright and Beniers specifically?
Well, it's interesting you bring those two guys up. They've already Dan Bilesma switched them already today at practice.
Really?
He's already flipped the lines. Yeah, so he's got Beniers with Tolvanen and Bjorkstrand now. And Shane Wright's playing with Jared McCann and Jordan Eberle.
Ooh.
So he flipped those guys today. Yeah, he said today he thought Wright was his best forward on Tuesday, and I don't disagree. I think Shane was fantastic. He's one of those guys. He's not going to score 45 goals in the NHL, but he is a really good hockey player. His hockey sense is through the roof, He might be their best face-off guy at the age of 20 as well. Worked on his body in the off season. He's never looked out of place in the 2 years where he's had a cup of coffee. He played 8 games each of the first 2 years. Shane, I'm just bullish on him, and I think he gets an unfair rap from a lot of people, especially, frankly, north of the border. Like, what's wrong with Shane Wright? Why? He's 20, man. He could still be playing juniors. That's how people forget that with this kid. But I like the switch, and I like the fact that Bilesma didn't screw around and said, you know what, our top 6 on Tuesday didn't have a point.
Yeah.
They didn't score. And, the third line, Tolvanen got a goal. It came off of a Shane Wright face-off win. He didn't get a point. It went to Morgan and then Riker. But he switched things up. I think that you can get to the playoffs with what they did a couple of years ago. And I think this is a lot closer team to that 2 years ago in terms of the balance. Their fourth line, Yanni Gord's their fourth line center.
Yes.
He centers a line on the fourth line with Ty Karche and Brandon Tanev. It also might be the most expensive fourth line in hockey because Tanev and Yanni are making a ton of money. But that's your fourth line, so I kind of like their depth up front. Alexiak had a really rough night the other night, but I like him with Montour on the back end. Grubauer wasn't good. He was good in the first period. I think most people would think the third goal was awful. The Broberg goal that was the second goal. Sorry. Save, and then the breakaway, he just stayed deep in his net. So Decor's going to get the start on Saturday in Minnesota, but I like this team. I like Bilesma. They were a lot more fun to watch, and it could be worse. Edmonton could be worse. I saw 6-0. Could be worse. Or our friends, if we don't want to take a shot at your listeners, I'll take a shot. How about our friends on the Lower Mainland there in beautiful British Columbia with a 4-0 lead, losing to Calgary? That's no good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Oiler fans are not overly enamored by one game. They'll say it's one game. Now they do have Chicago and Calgary this weekend, so maybe a chance for them to get back on track. They obviously don't.
Do you go back to Pickard? Hey, do you go back to my guy Cal Pickard from the Thunderbirds? We go back to him?
No, not. He'll play. I don't know which one he'll play. It depends. They'll talk to Skinner. Does he want the extra day between now and then play Sunday, Tuesday, or does he want to play Saturday, Tuesday? That's probably going to be their question. But yeah, Pickard will play one of the two. I just don't know which one.
I say you go with the guy from the Dub, right, TR? You go with the guy that knows how to compete. Go with the guy from the Dub.
Well, Skinner's from the Dub too. They're both Dub guys.
Yeah. That's right, but let's go with the guy from Seattle. He played in the, he played down here. That's what real hockey's played down here.
Awesome.
Hey, I love it down there, Ian. I miss Northwest USA, and I'm actually going back after Christmas. I'll shoot you know.
Are you going to try? Are you going to try?
I'm going to Sun Valley, Idaho, and then I'm going to head up there from there. It's so close. And who knows, maybe I'll head up to Seattle and we'll relive some old memories.
Yeah, that'll be good for my marriage for sure. I'll be in trouble and probably in jail, but I'll look forward to it. So, yeah, I'll just meet you. I'll meet you in Tri-City instead. Nobody knows me there. I'll just meet you there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Awesome. Well, Ian, always going to talk football and hockey with you, my man. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll see the Kraken, both the Kraken and the Oilers, hoping to get back on track in game number 2.
Hey, bet the over tonight. I heard you have a betting sponsor. I heard the spots. Bet the over tonight. Whatever it is, bet the over tonight.
Bet the over. I like it. Some points, man. Do you think, now you mentioned they won't run the ball. They've got a pretty good running attack. Charbonnet, do you think he gets any carries tonight? And or do you think it's going to be Walker like he was his first game back when he dominated?
I think honestly, Jason, in an ideal world, Walker gets about 14, 15 carries. Charbonnet gets about 5 or 6. So that gets you around the 22 mark in terms of, rushes per game. They ran out of time because the Giants controlled the clock the other day, but I think in an ideal world, it's somewhere around 12 to 15 for one guy and 5 to 7 for Charbonnet. So yeah, they want to get him the ball too. They like him. They like him a lot. They've got to control the clock, man. They got to stay on the field both defenses, San Francisco's defense isn't what it used to be. They got a bunch of injuries and Seattle's defense is struggling. So I'd say bet the over, whatever it might be.
Awesome. Ian, great stuff, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Great talking to you, buddy.
Anytime, fellas. Take care. See ya.
There you go. That is Ian Furness from KJR in Seattle. Does the Kraken games and also, of course, the covers the Seahawks very well. Former voice of TR's youth with Tri-City Americans. We'll come back. We'll get to 5 questions. MLB playoffs are about to get going and more on the Thursday edition. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, sports1440.ca, and Oilers Nation YouTube, Facebook, and X, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Nuggets Nuggets. This is Nuggets Nuggets, brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. What nugget of heating and cooling advice does Nuge have today?
You can save a lot of money by bundling your new furnace and AC with Legacy. It's kind of like saving money on an endorsement by bundling me, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, with someone like, Zachary Martin Hyman.
Thanks for suggesting me, Nuge. Get no payments and no interest for 1 year on your new AC and furnace from Legacy Heating and Cooling. Proud sponsor of Nuggets Nuggets.
Find the perfect tractor for any job at Edmonton Kubota. Their massive selection of compact tractors has something for everyone, whether you're tackling small tasks or big projects. And right now, take advantage of 0% financing for up to 72 months. It's never been easier to get the power and reliability you need. Come down to Edmonton Kubota today and drive away with the tractor that's just right for you. Edmonton Kubota, where your perfect tractor awaits.
Are you watching the interest rates these days? Of course you are. Paying less interest leaves money in your pocket. That's why St. Albert Dodge is happy to tell you that right now they have 0% financing on virtually all new 2024 models. Hundreds to choose from: Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer, Dodge Durango, and Hornet, Ram 1500, 2500, 3500, all with 0% financing. Why pay interest? Head up the trail and see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
At Toyota, we believe your vehicle is more than just a ride. It's family. So make sure it's prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store. Because winter's a lot like some people's in-laws. It's cold, shows up unexpectedly, and refuses to leave. Trust the experts at Toyota for premium winter tires, batteries, brakes, and more. Beat the winter rush. Book an appointment at shoptoyota.ca or contact your local Toyota dealer today.
Diablo Boots in Canada West. 2 great names in working cowboy boots. For over 60 years, Diablo has been selling the best-made Canadian boots. Diablo has boots from sizes 6E to size 15 EE, just for you. Why buy boots made in China like Ariat, Justin, or Red Wing, when Diablo has the best quality for less, made in Canada? Diablo has working cowboy boots with replaceable soles and heels for longer life. So, save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard, on the east side of Save On Foods. Hurry in today for best selection.
Rolling through, Gregor, Ryan, Connor Halley, Thursday afternoon. Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Get in the game. It is your daily grand chance. $1,000 a day. PlayAlberta.ca. Now let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. Tomorrow is Midnight Madness. So the Chlorobly the store, are we good? Store will be closed from up until 5 p.m. Then it opens, and you will have 7 hours of massive savings tomorrow at The Brick. 30% off furniture. You get appliances. You can get mattresses for only $149. So huge savings tomorrow night from 5 until midnight at The Brick.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys, question number 1 today. Let's just keep this to 1. What was the biggest, if any, positive you take away from the Oilers' performance last night, despite the result?
I didn't think there was many positives. Like I said, I thought the third line kept it together. I thought they were above average, and Connor Brown, I thought, played well and deserved a goal.
Yeah, I would go with that. But I guess I'll say outside of one shift, the fourth line actually looked pretty good too.
All right, on the flip side, maybe a few more to choose from, but what singular thing would you say was the most disappointing part of the game?
Oh, their lack of execution, from passing, mispassing, ill-advised passing. And wow, they left the slot open and seam passes way too often.
If going in, and even now, I'm pretty sold that I think their goaltending is going to be, it's already been proven to take them all the way. So I'm really not worried about that, and I'm not worried about their offense. I was kind of on the fence about their defense, and last night didn't do anything to help matters. So I was disappointed in that.
Question number 3, on the flip side, I guess we do have to give some credit to the Winnipeg Jets. When you look at their performance, any takeaways from that? And did it change your thoughts on that team after seeing them in one game?
I thought they looked deep, but again, the Oilers were almost a complete ghost of what they really are. So because we didn't see the real Oilers, just by math, we didn't see the real Jets. We saw a great Jets team, I'm sure, but I thought the Oilers, I've already said it. I thought the game was more defined by their lack of intensity and lack of execution than it was Winnipeg blowing people away. But they played well, and they certainly seemed deeper than I thought. One game, they could have won 20-0. It wouldn't affect my opinion on any team in any sport one game.
Yeah, the Jets are kind of who I thought they were. I think they're a deep team. They got a really good goaltender. But we've seen now for 2 years in a row, and they brought back very, very same team. So I don't know. Can Scott Arniel get them to play better in the playoffs? We won't know until they get to the playoffs. But I picked the Jets as a playoff team, and I expect them to be a playoff team.
Thursday night football, week 6, the NFL kicks off. Niners 3.5-point favorites over the Seahawks. That's at PlayAlberta.ca. The over/under 49. As I ask you guys for all these primetime games, would you take either of these bets or something entirely different if you had to make one?
Well,
go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I'll listen to Ian if he covers that team, and if he's saying the over, you know me, I love the over, so I would take the over for sure.
Okay, you know what I took? I forgot. I took Purdy going over 252.5. He's already done it 3 times this year, and I think the other 2 times were outliers, and there were also other factors. I took the 49ers straight up as well.
All right. Final question for you guys today. It is World Mental Health Day. So I want to ask you, is there anything you do to help your mental health, or any advice you would provide to those out there who may need it?
Well, for my mental health, I've often talked about, any adversity that I have in that field is usually anxiety, and it can spill over in depression if it makes you, if you dwell on things. So what I do, I like to just harness the energy. For me, it's a lot of nervous energy. So I write, or I'll go literally like a 10-year-old and take shots on an empty net or whatever it would be. But something that you have that's a hobby or something that you enjoy doing to take your mind off things. And, you know, it's one thing to take your mind off it, but honestly, I wrote my 2 books pretty much in that situation. It wasn't just like, let's try to write a book. It was like when I sit down and I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, I'll try to write my thoughts out. And you know, it ended up, you know, being something that was positive. So I do that. And to be quite honest with you, since I found medical marijuana, and I don't, a lot of people mix it up and look, some people it's give or take, but for me, it's the CBD, which, you know, there's THC and there's CBD. And really, it's been great. It helps me think clearly. And I'm a guy that I'm sure people out there can identify. It's not quite a depression, but it's just I have so many thoughts going on. Like, you know, my buddy passed the other day. So, you know, I'm in a state of depression like any of us are. But it's, you know, I got a podcast to do and I got a radio show and I got, you know, and I take a bit of CBD, relax a little bit, try to take my mind off it by maybe writing a paragraph or 2 or a poem or a diary journal, whatever it is. And those things combine to help me every time.
You know what? I'm pretty lucky, knock on wood. I've never really had any mental health stuff. People in my family, I've seen what they have to go through, so I have a lot of empathy for it. But for me, honestly, it's I'm a big proponent in anytime I just need to relax. Well, I usually just go to the farm, so I don't have that anymore. So that kind of sucks. But I take the dog for a walk, and I quite like it. And you know, some days I want to walk fast, but some days I let her sniff at everything, and it's like I'm going 1.5 kilometers. It's taking me 25 minutes, but who really cares? Because she seems to be having the time of her life. So walking the dog, I find is very therapeutic for me. And I always try to leave my phone down as much as I can. I find less phone time for me means more happiness.
Yeah.
So
that's for sure. That's right. I add that to the list. And by the way, so you're proactive about it, eh? And you know what? If you don't get anxiety after wearing that Lavoie looking mop that you had on your head last year, then boy, you're in a great mental state. You're in a great state of mind, my friend. Fantastic. You should be studied. Walking around like that, like it's Halloween every day for months.
Hey, dude, guess what? Toque is an amazing thing. So, yes, it was. That, you know what? That you're right. That was a tough one. There were days where I'd look in the mirror, I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, I wore a hat and a toque, definitely more than I ever have in my life for sure. So that was fun. It could have gone me down because I could have spiraled it myself because it was my own idiocy that led me to that. I never made a bet. I basically made a bet that I could never win. It was so stupid. So, but thankfully it was, brought a little bit of laughter at a time where there was a lot of people that were rather annoyed with how the team was playing. So I guess that was something that I'll never do again, though. I can tell you that. I will never make
You helped everybody's mental health, Jason. You go. You fell on the sword.
Yeah. Team player right there, TR. That's what I like to be. So it's nice. TR, have a good weekend. Quickly, Oilers, Chicago Flames. Do they get back on track or will we have to be playing psychologists on the when we return?
I think they get back on track. The Oilers are going to win 5 in a row. Mark it down. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Edmonton, and see you guys real soon.
There you go. Terry Ryan. He'll join us next Tuesday just to set up the Philadelphia Flyers game. 5 in a row. So that means they're beating the Blackhawks. They're beating the Flames. They're beating the Flyers. Decent. Then they go on the road. They got to beat the Preds. And then to make it 5, it would be an afternoon game next Saturday, beating the Dallas Stars. Ooh, we shall see. Let's get to the Con Man Sports 1440 update brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers and the the Canada-wide clearance is on right now at GMC. You can get 0% financing for up to 72 months on a 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
The Edmonton Oilers place Raphael Lavoie on waivers today, marking the 3rd time he's been on waivers since Sunday. Columbus Blue Jackets captain Boone Jenner underwent shoulder surgery today. He's going to miss the next 5 to 6 months per GM Don Waddell. And the Winnipeg Jets place goaltender Kaapo Kähkönen on waivers. On the ice tonight, you got the Bruins in Boston hosting the Canadiens. The Kings taking on the Sabres. Sens up against the Panthers. Maple Leafs in Jersey to take the 2-0 doubles on. Maple Leafs will be starting goaltender Dennis Hill to be his first ever NHL start. You got the Penguins and the Red Wings. Preds host the Stars, and the Blues take on the San Jose Sharks. Week 6 in the NFL kicks off as the Seahawks host the Niners. That one gets going at 6:15. Major League Baseball. Game 4 of the ALDS, Tigers and Guardians tied at 1 apiece. That one is in the top of the third. Detroit leads that series 2-1. Later tonight, the Yankees are in Kansas City with a chance to wrap up their series that gets going just after 6 o'clock. And in the WNBA tonight, we've got game 1 of the finals. Lynx take on the Liberty tip-off at 6. And news from the tennis world is Rafael Nadal is retiring from tennis at the age of 38. He's won 22 Grand Slam titles, 14 at the French Open. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and Farhan Lalji from the CFL on TSN. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Ain't it beautiful? There's electricity in the air. Carrie Dahl here for Volvo of Edmonton, where the Volvo XC40 and C40 fully electric vehicle is now in stock, along with a great selection of Volvo T8 hybrid models. Experience the trusted Volvo quality and technology to power into tomorrow at Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches. We provide our customers with the safest and most reliable ground transportation. Our seatbelt-equipped buses have become the preferred carrier for many local sports teams, tours, corporate outings, and other various travel across Western Canada. For more information and to request a quote, contact Ted Nakamura at 780-940-0880 or visit silentrides.ca.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at Chevrolet. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Silverado 1500 RST. Explore downtown hotspots with standard Chevrolet safety assist, including automatic emergency braking and HD surround vision camera. Or take on the great outdoors with an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine and available in-vehicle trailering app. Oh, look, a cute chipmunk. Not so cute. Not so cute. Ask your Chevrolet dealer for details.
Worried about your debt but don't know how to deal with it? My name is Parveen Middleton, and I'm a licensed insolvency trustee at BDO here in Edmonton. I talk with people about debt every day, and I understand how stressful your situation can be. During a free consultation, I can show you how to lower your payment and become debt-free. I can offer you immediate relief from that overwhelming stress. Call 1-833-BDO-TALK or visit bdodebt.ca to learn more.
Albertans celebrate a bounty of beautiful places to visit, boundless adventures to take, all in driving distance. And Sherwood Honda has the fuel-efficient vehicle that helps you go even farther and appreciate more. Hybrid CRVs and Civics mean more thanks in your tanks, more great trips to be grateful for. And of course, Sherwood Honda is thankful for the chance to help you get there. It's a beautiful time of year, and it sure would be nice to hit the road with Sherwood Honda.
Just after 5 o'clock. You made it through another work day. All right, one more, and then you got a long weekend. Of course, it is a Thanksgiving pumpkin pie, turkey, mashed potatoes, and gravy. Do you got any other, what is your go-to at Thanksgiving? I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes. I love the yams, sweet potatoes. Oh, so good. Just a little bit of brown sugar in them. Delish. Do you have a special Thanksgiving Day dinner or dessert? Let us know. I'm always up to adding. Cons, anything in the Halley family that's outside of the normal obvious ones?
No, we're pretty, I don't know, traditional, basic. It's going to be turkey. If I'm spoiled, maybe sometimes you get a ham, but mashed potatoes, gravy, salad, the veggies, of course, and you got to have pumpkin pie.
Oh, God.
Got to have, I know you're about the homemade, but for me, the city folk, a little Cool Whip.
But yeah, no, Cool Whip, okay. But I'll say the Costco pumpkin pie is very good. My God. Like the pumpkin pie at Costco is unbelievable.
Ashley sent me a picture today. There's about 5,000 at the St. Albert Costco right now.
Really?
Probably sold out.
Oh,
but you got to go quick.
Yeah, you got seriously. People go in there and they buy like 5, 6 because it does. The one thing about pumpkin pie, it freezes very well, so you can get a few extras if floats your boat or not. So, but don't hoard. This is not like the toilet paper shortage of COVID, okay? Which never came to fruition. We don't need to be that. It is a Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You can get in on Thursday nighter, over under, or maybe some yardage. We'll see. Are they? I wouldn't sleep on old Debo tonight. And San Fran's ability to throw down the field. They've got their quarterbacks being the best at going downfield in the league this year. Let's get to the spec report brought to you by GS Construction, where, stop in at GS and they can help you out if you're looking for a career opportunity, because that's what they do. They love promoting from within, and you'll keep building up at GS Construction. Go to Indeed.com as we welcome back to the show from Rogers Sportsnet, Mark Spector. Spec, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Oof, pretty good, buddy.
Something
Pretty
going on
good
with our camera, man. There's just this beautiful picture of nature, but my head's not in it. So
yeah, I see that.
Yeah, those people on YouTube are just going to have to look at the lovely trees, I guess. I'm not sure what's that.
Well, they're the dog face. I thought it was like, gee, Spec, what are you doing there?
That's my dog. That's
like
Wrigley. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm backing off. Wrigley's going to be in it.
Yeah. Well, hey, some would argue it might be better. We'll see. The Raphael Lavoie waiver saga continues for another week or another day at least for him, as he's on waivers again by the Edmonton Oilers. We'll find out. Now the rules have changed for anybody out there listening. If Vegas claims him and no one else claims him, Vegas can send him to the minors because they now are technically his original team. That's how it works. And we will find out if one of the teams who was above Edmonton put in a claim yesterday. And I don't think anything's changed enough to think they wouldn't. And especially when I look at how Colorado lost last night, I still think it was Colorado. We'll see if I was right or not. But we'll find out tomorrow by noon as Raphael Lavoie on waivers again.
Well, here's what I was talking to some scouts about this last night. The feeling was that Vegas put in claims on 2 players, thinking,
yes,
well, we'll get one of them.
Yes,
Schwint from Calgary and Lavoie from Edmonton, and they got both. So they tried to send Lavoie down. We all know what happened. So the feeling among that little group of scouts, I'm not telling you they're always right, but the feeling was it's probably a low percentage that Vegas puts in another claim on Vegas because they don't need that player anymore. They don't need another minor league guy. So the question mark is that unnamed team out there, are they going to claim Lavoie? And if they claim him, they can't send him to the minors. They'll put him on waivers. So that means that eventually, once their guys come back, unless he makes the team and plays the rest of the season, which would be awesome for Lavoie, this thing might just happen again later on. So I guess we'll have to let the Lavoie saga roll on, Jason.
Yeah, it's a distraction for a bit, but the Oilers, they looked distracted. They looked disinterested. They looked discombobulated. It was not a great effort, really, from top to bottom. Specifically, their top 2 lines, their defense, their goaltending, not good enough. Their bottom 6 forwards were their best players.
Yes, they were. There was not very many good players in that game. The things that make the Edmonton Oilers tick, none of them ticked last night. So, let's face it, you can't win with goaltending like that. That's where it starts. You can't win. Can't win. You can't win when you don't score goals. You can't win when your top line gets one shot on net. We're all picking apart the Embersons and the Dermots and the Nurses and all that stuff. Last I checked, you don't win when you don't score a goal. So there's a lot of things that went sour, in that game. And I think we're probably all best to just make our way to the next game, and let's see if the Oilers can look like some semblance of themselves on Saturday night against Chicago.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it'll be hard for them to be worse. I'll say that. It'll be challenging. Emerson's only played 31 games back. Dermott's played 300. Stetcher's played almost 500. Do you think we see Dermott or Stetcher with Nurse and they just let Emerson get used to in the NHL in the third pair role?
I think Stetcher plays the next game ahead of Dermott. Now, how the pairing's going to go, that's a good question. On one hand, if you put Dermott or you put Emerson down with Kulak, maybe you make his load, a little lighter. But on the other hand, man, that experiment didn't last very long. You're kind of giving up on the kid, aren't you? If you give him one game in, that's two periods with Nurse, and now we've given up on the experiment already. History tells me coaches usually give a guy like Emerson a little more rope than that. Maybe give him a second game with Nurse, in my opinion. So I would bet on that happening if I had to lay a bet, Jay.
Yeah, that's probably fair. What was interesting to me was how the main focus for this season was get off to a good start. We need to play well.
Yeah.
And none of that occurred really last night. So I don't know if too much pressure, off night, yada, yada, whatever it was. But to me, that's what I looked for against Chicago is just your focus has been get to a good start. And one game you can, Terry Ryan thinks they'll win 5 in a row. And if they do, then it's a good start because you're 5-1, right? But like last night it would be hard to envision a worse one-game start than what we saw last night. And so to me, you mentioned it, Speck. It was a lot of their top guys who weren't their top guys. And I don't care anything else that happens. You're not going to win without your best players the majority of the time. You're just not.
No, you're not. And Winnipeg's good. Chicago's not near as good.
No.
And don't forget, Florida just went out and played unbelievably in their first game.
Yeah.
They came out and talk about there's no Stanley Cup hangover going on down there, at least in game 1. Now, let's see where we go from here. But don't blame it on last year. Don't blame it on the playoffs. Don't blame it on the short summer, because Florida just showed you none of that stuff should matter. Their preseason was poor. The Oilers' preseason was poor. And we all said, whatever, it's only preseason. Okay, it was only preseason, but it was a lousy preseason. Nobody got anything done here in that preseason, right? So it did extend. Now they put themselves in a position where they're trying to flip a switch. And we all know in sports, that's one of the older cliches, Jason. You can't flip the switch. And we just learned it for about the 7,000th time last night. You can't flip the switch. If you're playing lousy going in, you're going to probably play lousy coming out. And that's what happened.
Yeah, it was really bad performance overall. But I will say, man, that the third lines on both teams were the two best lines.
I didn't mind Pod Colson's work either on the fourth line for Edmonton, but I'll give you that. The third line was their best line. Yeah. So I think we all feel like, the top 6 are going to be there. They're going to get there. Now, there's some questions here, but the team speed issue is a big issue. I don't mind if, let's say we trade out Warren Foegele for Victor Arvidsson. I don't mind that. I like Victor Arvidsson a lot. He brings a lot of things Foegele doesn't bring. They're not speed and size, but they're other things. But then if you go to the other side and you say, okay, then Skinner is sort of a replacement for, Ryan McLeod, let's say. If we say Pod Colson can be Holloway, well, Pod Colson can. If you look hard enough,
Skinner would be Kane realistically, right? And Henrique's kind of McLeod because
Kane's still on your team though. I'm thinking of guys that aren't coming back ever. And,
Wow.
Skinner needs to hold up his end of this bargain. I thought, frankly, last night was the most I've noticed Skinner in a game this year. So that's a good sign. It's a positive sign. They just need their guys to play, man. McDavid's got to be better. He didn't have a shot on net. The McDavid line had one shot on net last night. Sorry. They don't win many games when your first line, not many teams win games when their first line gets one shot on net in a game.
No, gosh, no. And the thing was, there was two situations where he was right down Main Street and when he could have ripped it, and he didn't rip. And so that's part of his game. Hey, he's the best player in the world. I understand all of that, but it is a tendency in his game at times to overpass away when you're in a good spot and just be, he did try to take the one later and then it got blocked late in I think it was right in the first period, but McDavid's showing us when he wants to shoot like he did 2 years ago, and he's healthy because last year we know he had the oblique issue and that led to it, but he's going to have to, you can't be fearful to rip the puck. It makes the whole team better when Connor McDavid is shooting, because now all of a sudden the team's like, oh my God, we got to protect that, right? It just becomes a much bigger challenge for the opposition.
Yeah, when he blows, he loves the goal where he blows through four guys and the last people come to him and he passes it over and someone scores. We've seen it a lot. It's a great goal. But there does come a time when you're 6 feet from the net, he's a pretty good shooter, right? Mm-hmm. He's Connor McDavid. Shooting's not the bad option here sometimes. And I think all of that's probably a bit of a metaphor for playing a straight ahead game. And I think that's what we're going to see from Edmonton on Saturday against Chicago. I think we're going to see a very straight ahead hockey game, man. Not a lot of, I want to say pissing around. It's time to go to the net. It's time to play straight ahead hockey. They're better than Chicago 8 days out of 7 days in a week. Just play good and you'll win a hockey game. It doesn't have to look good. Just play straight ahead hockey. You're the better hockey team by some margin.
There was a few other games last night. Colorado had the hat trick from Rantanen, but they lost big time. Vancouver blew it. Like they were spanking the Flames. And it was, it's 4-1 and they're looking like in complete control. And then it's funny. So JT Miller has the hit. It's not a dirty hit, but Rooney's down. It was an odd time for the crowd. I'll be honest. I thought it was rather ignorant for the crowd to chant Miller's name when Rooney was down and out like that. I thought that was kind of dumb. And if you believe in karma, but I'll give the Flames credit, man. Like they came back and won that game where most of us probably thought Vancouver was going to waltz away with it.
Well, I think everyone's looking at Calgary like they're going to lose 9 games out of 10 this year. Let's face it. That's what everyone's picking them. And I'm looking at the roster and I'm not disagreeing. So anytime they show that kind of moxie, and they showed us last night, they don't believe that, right? Mm-hmm. They walk into Vancouver, get down 4-1, and they could have looked at each other and said, well, I guess everyone's right about us, but they didn't. I love that. I love the little downtrodden team that no one believes in that comes back. They'll be a tough out Sunday night here in Edmonton, man. They're going to come in here with that same attitude. And that early win in the season gives them a little foothold, right? A little something where they can say, hey, you guys, we've been in this situation and we pulled 2 points out of Vancouver. Remember? So that's just a little foothold for a team that isn't starting the season with much to hang their hat on. They just got a little something last night. I think that's awesome for Calgary because it's going to be a long year there. They deserve a little bit of fun once in a while.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And, the Sheloffs experiment, I'm very curious in Vancouver what happens. Because I know I talked to a few scouts. We talked to Kevin Woodley. He was the one who pointed it out. And Edmonton exploited it. We saw it late in that series. Edmonton, high shots from the point through and just lots of shots through traffic. And Calgary started to get a little bit more traffic. Now, Zari scored an unreal goal in overtime that there wasn't no traffic. That was just a really nice move. But I'm curious to see, Sheloffs is not a guy, like he's got fewer than 20 games NHL experience back in the regular season. Like this is, now I think Kevin Lankinen is the guy though that ends up taking that starting job. I'll say that right now. I think Lankinen is the guy that will cool any concerns down about the goaltending in Vancouver.
Well, I'll tell you what, goalies are like starting pitchers, man. They come in and they're hard to hit and they're hard to score on until they make their way through the league. And all the people for all the teams who get paid to find the holes collectively, if you got holes, they find the holes, right? Mm. The goalie coach in Nashville and the goalie coach in Columbus and the goalie coach in Edmonton, they find the holes in that guy that plays for whoever, if Shelov's, and it gets around mighty quick. So if there's holes in Shelov's game, maybe the Oilers didn't find him in a playoff series where we never even heard of this guy last year. But by the time we get, that tape is everywhere. And you could see last night, Calgary knew where to shoot. So is Lankinen that good? I don't know how good Lankinen is. I've never seen him carry a team before. Can he carry a team? Maybe he can, Jay. Maybe he can. Maybe Woodley thinks he can, and I defer to Kevin Woodley for sure. But if he carries the Vancouvers to a bunch of wins, it'll be the first time he ever carried an NHL team to a bunch of wins. So let's see if he's got it in him.
Yeah, Woodley's last 2 years where he said the goalies he thought were ready for breakout years. He had Lindgren, worked, Ingram, worked, and so now he has Lankinen. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Not always right, but he's 2 for 2 the last few years since I asked him that question. So it does a lot of digging on it. So we shall see what happens. He's in a good situation too. Vancouver's a good team, right? Like they had a bad game, just like Edmonton had a bad game. And
I would no sooner tell Kevin Woodley about goaltending than I would tell you about shutting down the Roxy at 2 a.m., Gregor. I just defer. Defer.
Oh, yeah. All right. It's not bad. Not bad. Not Roxy, not I have done it, but more OTR for sure. Definitely
on the rocks.
In the days, yes. Many days. I was an expert there, no question about it.
I had Vancouver on my mind.
Oh, yeah. Goose Loonies, OTR. We could go through the list. It would be good. Fun times. Spec, have a good one. We will chat with you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
There you go. That's Mark Spector, the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction. Farhan Lalji will join us next. We'll talk NFL. We'll talk some CFL. Also, the Canucks, a little bit meltdown, Oiler fans. Yeah, you know what? Misery loves company. He loves company. Like, God, our team sucked last night, but we didn't blow. Like, we were out of it right from the get-go, but we didn't blow a 3-goal lead. So, you know what? What is there? Two nights there's already been at least one 3-goal lead blown. And last year, there was lots of them. Last year, the NHL had more third-period comebacks than any other season in NHL history except 2007 when they tied it. So, you know what? No lead is safe anymore in the NHL, and that's what makes it awesome to watch. So we'll touch on that and more on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live in the EWEL studio, EWEL.ca, your partner in power.
My utility bills are going through the roof. How can I take advantage of the sun and put my lazy roof to work?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Energy team reporting. When you're ready to make your home or business more efficient, Action Electrical has the power to install solar panel systems and EV chargers.
Facing an electrical menace? Call on the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta with supercharged skills and strong family values. ActionElectrical.net.
It's Midnight Madness at the Brick. Stores will be closed on Friday to lower prices and then reopen at 5 p.m. with incredible 7-hour deals in every department. Get 30% off furniture and free local delivery when you spend $4.99 or more. Plus, get 40% off mattresses and buy any TV or appliance to get a $50 credit for furniture, home decor, and mattresses. See in store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
At Toyota, we believe your vehicle is more than just a ride. It's family. So make sure it's prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store. Because winter's a lot like some people's in-laws. It's cold, shows up unexpectedly, and refuses to leave. Trust the experts at Toyota for premium winter tires, batteries, brakes, and more. Beat the winter rush. Book an appointment at shoptoyota.ca or contact your local Toyota dealer today.
Wow, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today. change.
Albertans celebrate a bounty of beautiful places to visit, boundless adventures to take, all in driving distance. And Sherwood Honda has the fuel-efficient vehicle that helps you go even farther and appreciate more. Hybrid CRVs and Civics mean more thanks in your tanks, more great trips to be grateful for. And of course, Sherwood Honda is thankful for the chance to help you get there. It's a beautiful time of year, and it sure would be nice to hit the road with Sherwood Honda.
Come on down! Get your tickets now for The Price is Right Live in the venue at River Cree Resort and Casino. 3 big shows, November 2nd and 3rd. Plinko, The Big Wheel, and more live. Plus, register to be a contestant to win. You just might hear your name called, inviting you to come on down and play The Price is Right Live this November. Tickets at rivercreeresort.com.
River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement. Bet on it.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
.523. Gregor, Halley, Declan Kruger with you on Sports 1440 Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Thanks for watching and listening. Sports1440.ca. You download the app wherever you're driving around the country and the province. We appreciate it, as always, for taking part in the show. Text lines always humming it on at 833-401-1440. We'll get to some of those and more. But first, we'll go in the room. Brought to you by Action Electrical. Take action on your savings. You've been waiting, pondering, debating, should I not? You want to get solar on your home or your business. They can help set it up, get you all the best savings, and more importantly, great service. ActionElectrical.net. As we are joined once again from the CFL on TSN Farhan Lalji, of course, also taking in a little Thursday night football. Farhan, I guess let's start first of all in the CFL. We know the Western Division 3 teams that are in Edmonton and Calgary are both out. BC and Saskatchewan have a huge game this weekend. You know, they're most likely going to finish second and third, but home field advantage would be on the line. Between those two teams right now today, do you like one of them better than the other?
I don't. I think there's certain areas that I like of one team better than the other. You know, I think that Trevor Harris has played really well in this last 3-game win streak that Saskatchewan has had. I think their offense is probably operating at a higher, more explosive level. They'll get AJ Ouellette back this week. I know Rock Armstead was close, but isn't going to play. You know, he's a handful in his own right, but at least they get one of those two guys back, which is a big deal for them. And for BC, you know, I think that they are getting some key guys back, which will help them offensively potentially operate at a higher level. One of them is David Mackey, and you look at him and you don't think of him as being like a key guy for them, but he does so many little things well. You know, can run the ball, can catch it out of the backfield, is a key member there, you know, as a protector. So getting him back will help. There's a chance they get Jarrell Broxton, who's their best offensive lineman, back. He did take part in the full practice today. And then Alex Hollins, right? So they can be a little bit more explosive there as long as he remembers to catch the ball. So I think if, you know, they won't have Katoy, but getting those other three pieces back allows them to potentially match what's been pretty good offensively for Saskatchewan the last 3 games. And then on the other side of the ball, you know, I think both of these defenses have some holes. You know, for the Lions, it's generally been about how well they tackle. They don't have necessarily a lot of make-you-miss guys in terms of the receiving core in Saskatchewan, so that might match up well for BC. So I think the guys coming back into the lineup might give BC an edge, but there's certain elements of Saskatchewan's team that I like better.
So now let's go to the NFL. Seattle and San Francisco, 2-3. Niners, 3-2. Seahawks. The Seahawks has been susceptible to their secondary is their weakness defensively. Farhan and Brock Purdy. No one's been throwing the ball downfield better. You expecting some fireworks from this offense downfield tonight?
Well, I don't know, because to be truthful, like Brock Purdy hasn't been great this season. And certainly in the last game, he threw 54%, which was the lowest of his career. He's turning the ball over, not just with interceptions, but with fumbles. And in the second half, this offense has done nothing in the last couple of weeks. I mean, they've blown leads, double-digit leads in these last two games, which San Francisco just doesn't do, right? But they've managed to do that a little bit, late last year, and then now this year it's kind of carried over. So when you look at that receiving core, Ayuk and Samuel have had a lot of success here in Seattle, right? I mean, in the last 6 games, Samuel's got 745 yards of offense and 6 touchdowns against Seattle in his last 6 games. And in the last game, Ayuk played against the Seahawks here, 126 yards. So they know how to get things done. But, and now you look at Seattle in the secondary, they're green right now, right? Because, you lose Reek Woolen, who won't play tonight. So they're pretty susceptible on the corner, right? I mean, Witherspoon generally plays a little more nickel. You look at the Giants last week, and they shredded Seattle's secondary without Malik Neighbors, right? So that's a tough sign. But then you look on the other side of it, and San Francisco is going to be losing 2 starting members of its secondary because Shavarius Ward's not playing tonight, in a bit of a surprise. And then Hufanga is also not going to play at safety. Both those guys are going to be replaced by rookies. So, I think that Seattle also has the ability to score some points, but Seattle's just going to need to get a little more balanced. They don't run the ball enough. They need to do a bit more of that. But, both these teams, both secondaries are going to be a little bit depleted tonight.
Yeah, and a lot of people thinking maybe that'll lead to some points. As a fan of offense, I hope they're right. Seattle had a few weeks where the running backs were very good. Walker's had a few weeks. Then when he was out, Charbonnet ran pretty well for a few weeks. But last week, they didn't even try to run the ball against the Giants of all teams, which was
well, you're right. And you look at this team, you look at the San Francisco team, they're outside the top 20 in terms of rushing yards allowed per play. They're giving up 4.7. Well, Kenneth Walker is averaging 5.5 yards per carry this season, which is the best of his career. But they've only rushed the ball in 5 games 105 times. That's the lowest number in the league, right? When you look at Geno Smith, he leads the league in attempts, completions, and yards, but only 10% of his yards have come on play action, right? So, they do need to find a little bit more balance, because when Geno is just throwing it every play, well, guess what's happened the last 2 games? They've lost. So they need to find some balance and get Kenneth Walker involved a bit more.
Farhan Lalji joins us. Farhan, here in Edmonton, not a great start for the Oilers for 1 game. The Vancouver Canucks, man, they had an unreal start. They're up 4-1. Everybody's celebrating, and then boom, it flittered away. I think Lankinen's going to be the guy that takes the net until Demko gets back. I'm not sold on Shelavs, to be honest. Where do you come out on their goaltending? And I saw Rick talking after the game. Smart coach took some blame, said, I worked so much on transition, I didn't focus on our defensive game, and that let us down.
Yeah, and it's true, right? I mean, you could see that once the game got into 5-on-5 when the second period started. Canucks dominated the first, but it was a lot of power play time, right? And, and they drew those penalties. I think initially they kind of earned them. Then after that, it was just Calgary running around trying to get a JT Miller, and that led to the fall-on lead. But, the one thing is these guys owned it after the game in terms of what they weren't doing defensively and what they weren't doing in terms of winning puck battles. So I don't know that it'll continue, but it might require some time for Tocchet to go back and say, listen, remember what our defensive principles were a year ago, because there are some new guys in this team, right? I mean, Daniel Sprong's got defensive deficiencies to begin with, wasn't part of the structure last year. You got, Dan Heinen, who's another guy that's new, and they've got some guys even on the back end, right? Like DeHarnay and Forbert, who were a bit of a liability last night. They struggled with their mobility. They were on the ice for 3 goals. So, I don't know that that's a sustainable third pair, right? So, I mean, you guys know DeHarnay as much as anybody. So I think that's got to get upgraded. And in terms of goaltending, I'm surprised Shelovs was as poor as he was. It took a while in the Edmonton series last year for the Oil to figure out that, look, this guy struggles with shots from distance. If you screen him, he doesn't track it well necessarily coming out of the screen. And, Calgary got into that, and that hurt him last night. So might it be Lankin in it? I'm not ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater on Shelovs. I still think he did a lot of good things in the playoffs last year and can be an important part. I don't think either one of these guys is good enough right now to say you're going to get the ball to run with it. I think they're going to need both until Demko gets back. So we'll see what it looks like. But Lankinen gives him a viable option, and I would imagine he plays tomorrow night against Philly.
What have you heard at all about Joshua? Anything? Any timeline?
Yeah, I mean, I know that Darren Drager reported a week ago that it was going to be 3 to 4 weeks, and I could see that happening from those who have seen him skate to this point. Feel that it's very early in that process. Like he looks like he's got a ways to go. That said, he is going with the team on this road trip, right? And he is going to practice with the team at some point. So I think we need to see him practice with a full group to get a full idea. So right now, based on when Drags reported that, 2 to 3 weeks, and that probably sounds right. Like late in the road trip, later on this month before he gets back. But he certainly would be an important piece if he can get back to the Dakota Joshua that he was last year.
Quickly to the Elks, their season's over. As far as, well, they got 2 games left, but they're not making the playoffs. They've announced Trey Ford's going to start Bethel Thompson because they have a number 3 in Prokop. They're going to dress their other young quarterback who hasn't been here all year. It hasn't been in a game all season long, and said they want to get him in some reps. I know he took a few reps in the past. What do you make of the direction of the Elks right now, Farhan, and how much, obviously once they hire their president, I think that's going to start the ball rolling on everything, but how significant do you think the changes might be for coach and management in Edmonton this offseason?
Yeah, well, Jason, I think that the temperature has changed a lot in the last 3 to 4 weeks, right? Back then, they were winning games and everything was looking good, and Trey Ford was playing well in the game and a half that he played, and everything was kind of in a certain place to the point where I think Rick Lawlisher might have been a little bit bullish on getting Simon and Jackson extended quickly, right? Whereas now, after the last 3 games, I think, you'll make sure that you go through the process of getting the president done first, then getting the coaching and GM in place. And that might not happen until the offseason now. Whereas if you'd asked me 3 to 4 weeks ago, I really thought that it was going to happen sooner, right? I thought it would happen sooner. So that'll take some time. I know there were some conversations with Trey Ford's camp about, a long-term future, no offers or anything like that, but just conversations. And I think that's I think that's turned a little bit, right? So let's see what these 2 games look like. Let's see what happens in the offseason. To be truthful, if I was making the decision, I'd probably continue with Simon and Jackson and try to have a little bit of continuity for a team that's had so much upheaval the last 4 seasons. But you can certainly make a case for going in another direction. So again, 3 to 4 weeks ago, I thought that it was going to happen, where they were going to get retained, once the president got named and Ford was going to get extended and all of that. And right now I'm just not sure, but I'm looking forward to seeing how Trey performs in these 2 games, because that'll go a long way towards helping make those decisions. And I also think the president decision is quite imminent, right? Like I would be surprised if by the middle of next week to the end of next week, that decision isn't made.
No, I think it'll happen I wouldn't be surprised at all if it happens during the bye week all for them. So, you know what, keeps them in the news. You got guys away, but it's a big decision for the organization. No question that they want to get, that decision's got to be important. They need somebody who knows the community. I think that's really important. And I think the same thing for the GM. And I really if Trey Ford plays really well, I think that might be the end of the coach and the management, because they're the ones who clearly haven't fully ever committed to Trey Ford. I think that's obvious as an organization, because this year has kind of been a wasted year of development for Trey Ford. To this date, he's thrown fewer passes this year than he did as a rookie.
Yeah, I think there's some layers to that. But and you can certainly debate what their level of commitment is, at this stage, right? I think, again, a lot's changed in the last 4 weeks, right? I think there was a feeling at that time like this was the deal, right? Like this is where we want to go. And now I think they probably want another level of evaluation. And I certainly think they should have played him in the last game. You and I have debated whether or not they should have played him in both Winnipeg games and all of that. But I'm curious to see, if it doesn't go that way, what the future is for Trey Ford in terms of, are any other teams in the CFL willing to commit that to him and bring him in that role as the guy? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, not a lot of options, so we'll see where it goes from there. Farhan, as always, appreciate your time. Enjoy Seattle.
Take care, buddy.
There you go. That's Farhan Lalji from the CFL on TS. And we got a lot of texts coming, and we'll get to those questions on the Oilers, trying to understand the waiver wire. Some early concern, but I will say this, the text line, very sane today. A very sane text line, which is welcome. I like it. And I might even hear from Adam Henrique. The Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Wide clearance is on at GMC. Get 0% financing for up to 72 months on the 2024 Sierra 1500 Elevation. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Cross Mitsubishi is giving you a chance to see a hockey game in style.
Just head to Cross Mitsubishi and take a test drive. You'll be entered to win a pair of hockey tickets to a November game, $200 for food and drinks, and 2 Edmonton jerseys of your choice.
Get in the game with Cross Mitsubishi, home of the largest 2024 Mitsubishi inventory in Western Canada and the 10-10-10 warranty.
Visit Cross Mitsubishi today and drive your ambition. 9605 34th Ave and crossmitsubishi.ca.
Hi, Dennis from Weiss Johnson. We've been family owned and operated for nearly 50 years, a foundation built on trust. Using our extensive experience, we'll make recommendations with your best interests in mind. So while many heating and air conditioning companies offer specials and huge discounts, financing options, and no overtime charges ever, we'll keep doing what we do best, providing you a quote that is honest and transparent, ensuring you get what's best for your family. Visit wjheats.com today.
Sometimes it feels like you work, sleep, and, well, that's about it. When you finally get a break for something different. At Edmonton's best games room, Top Shots Billiards and Ping Pong. Unwind with championship tables, a state-of-the-art golf simulator, and 15,000 feet of games and fun for all ages. Top Shots is a fully licensed bar and restaurant with dozens of flat screens. #1 for parties, for bookings for any size. Top Shots, the best thing to happen at pool since chalk. In the woods and at topshots.ca.
Hi everyone, Dennis from Weiss Johnson. Fall is here and now's the time to get your furnace serviced before the mercury plummets. There's nothing worse than furnace failure when it's 40 below. So why not be proactive and book a fall inspection today? We'll do a thorough checkup and provide any necessary service to ensure cozy comfort for your family all winter long. Or if it's time to upgrade to a brand new energy efficient furnace, we can help you there too. Visit wjheats.com today.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and we have hundreds of RVs to show you. Now, fall is not the traditional time to buy an RV, but here's a pro tip. Every used RV is a one-of-a-kind, and one of them is perfect for you. But you never know when you're going to find it.
Especially if you have a lot of must-haves and deal breakers on your wish list.
That's right, Bob. Used RV buyers are picky, looking for just the right one. I'm not saying the RVs on our lot now are any better than the ones we'll have in the spring. They're not, but they are different. The ones on our lot today will be gone by spring.
Be a shame if the perfect one got away.
Leafs are lighting up the Devils.
Bob. If you find one you like, put a ring on it. No Bull makes it ridiculously easy because we'll pay for winterization, storage, and get it all ready for you next year. All you need to do is show up in the spring and it'll be ready for your first adventure. Couldn't be easier.
And that's No Bull.
No Bull.
.540, Gregor, Connor Halley, as we roll through. Busy Thursday afternoon. You got some early NHL action going on. The New Jersey Devils, all the hype. They went over to Europe up to win 2 games, playing great. They come home and they're getting spanked in the first period tonight by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs have 3 goals on 8 shots. And it's guys like Steven Lorenz, Bobby McCann, and Max Pacioretty who have scored the goals for the Maple Leafs as they face their former coach. How about the Montreal Canadiens up on Boston 2-1, and the Senators on home ice, leading the defending champs 2-0. Shane Pinto, we said at Cons, he was a guy that if you were looking for a big year, Shane Pinto had an unreal, well, not second half of the season, but first half for him, because remember, he was suspended for the first 40 games. He had a great preseason. I think he's going to be a big factor for the Senators this year. So there you go in that one. And the Kings and Sabres, no goals in that game so far. You got Utah and the Islanders, Penguins and the Red Wings, Stars, Predators, Blue Jackets, Wild, and the Blues and the Sharks as the late game tonight. Also MLB, 2-2 in a must-win game for Cleveland. It's 2-2 in the bottom of the fifth in Detroit. KC is hosting New York in a must-win game for KC later on tonight. Also, you have Thursday night football, the Seahawks and the 49ers. So lots going on. We get to lots of texts, 833-401-1440. Actually, we're going to get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo. Actually, no, we'll get to the oil report in a sec after some of the texts. Hey, guys. In the next CBA, the NHL should push for a rule that if a team claims a player, they have to keep them on the NHL roster for 30 days. That would hopefully give them the chance they deserve to prove themselves and eliminate the bouncing from team to team from BR. BR, I'm going to say very low to no chance that happens. Number one, sometimes teams will claim guys on waivers because it's temporary. You know what? For a game, 2, 3, 4 a week or fine. You get a different chance in organization. They're not going to force them for 30 days. The teams won't agree to it. And I'm not even sure that PA wants to, because some teams might be hesitant then to claim a guy. Because if you have an injured player and you claim a guy just by timing, what happens when your injured player comes off? You're going to force a team to waive another guy? There's no way it's going to happen, right? Raphael Lavoie, this is a very unique thing. We don't need to change rule. We don't need Matt Duchene rules. It's an odd thing for Raphael Lavoie. I don't feel that sorry for him, because guess what? He's getting paid NHL money all week long, where if he would have went to the minors, he wouldn't. And that's a big difference, right? He's making $775 when you're in the NHL. That's almost like $4,200 a day. Trust me. It's not ideal, but it could be way worse. So I don't see them changing that rule. I don't think there's a need to change the rule. It doesn't happen very often. And the reason the rule's there is because, look, when it's all said and done, Raphael Lavoie goes through waivers. We'll find out tomorrow. If indeed the team, like if Vegas doesn't claim him, which I don't think they will, and then the team who put in a claim yesterday, now they don't have to, but I guess I'd be a little surprised if they didn't. And then boom, he could end up in the NHL. So all that happened for him was he spent a few days living in a hotel, getting paid NHL money, and then finally will get a chance in NHL. He would take it all day long. If you asked Raphael Lavoie, he would much rather be this than guaranteed in the American League. Because some teams might have said, I don't want to put in a claim because I don't want him on my roster for 30 days. It's just how teams are going to view it. So I don't think that's going to happen very often. So we'll see from there. Hey, Greg, do you think the Oilers defense core can be solved? I know that they have got $5 million in cap space for Kane. Why not just go out and get a $5 million defenseman? Well, here's the thing. Which team's going to trade you a $5 million defenseman right now? Right? Lots of teams who have one, you're going to have to pay way more right now. It's just how it is. And if Kane's ready before the end of the season, then what are they going to do? They're going to have to finagle a way to add him on. So, but it's more so comes down to, I don't think there's a lot of available $5 million defensemen. There's probably some $5 million defensemen the team would trade. It's not necessarily the one you want because they're probably not playing up to their $5 million price tag. So I look at the Oilers, the D-core. It's not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. They'll have a few rough nights. They're good enough to get by. They can play a lot better than they played last night. Last night was one game, terrible game. We call it what it is. As the coach said, he goes, I'll evaluate my team after the weekend. In 3 games, if there's still a lot of problems, then I'll be concerned. He wasn't going to get too worked up over one game. Because here's the thing. You could stress out about one game. What if they play well Saturday, Sunday? Right? Then it's kind of wasted energy. You can say, hey, guys, we got to play better. I trust in our team. We've been a good team for a long time. You've shown that you can bounce back. So let's see if they do it. And I would guess that's the area that they're going to go down. Now, let's get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton. They are Canada's #1 Volvo dealership. Great service, great vehicles, great prices right now. XC90s, 2025 plug-in hybrids and XC90s are in stock. They are going fast, though. Stop in this weekend and get some at Volvo Cars Edmonton. Now, Conman's going to finish. I got to bug out because we have a hockey game, so I want to get there before I'm late to the game. So here's a conversation I had with Adam Henrique. Now, remember, this was before the season began. We just didn't get to play this earlier, but I've been kind of saving it. Here's Henrique talking about, the comfort level coming back to Edmonton, continuity with the line mates, and much more.
Yeah, the familiarity. And that was something that was important to me in the off season as well. Coming in after the trade, I did feel pretty comfortable and knew a handful of the guys on the team, which helped the transition. But it's still, a lot of new coaching, new staff, new players, new line, like a lot of that kind of things. Sometimes takes a little bit to iron out and kind of find your, role within the group and a new group, especially. And, after settling in, and then certainly this was my, or our #1 goal was to be back, and whether or not, going into the off season, that was a question mark. If it were to work out, and, but I think both sides were happy the way things went, and we certainly were with us. And that familiarity was important to me, to come back and already feel settled with the group, and now having the family here and kind of really settle in, which is nice. So it, things have been well so far, and it does feel pretty seamless.
You mentioned last year in the playoffs how your wife hadn't experienced playoffs like that, and she was just like, man, this is a lot of fun. And so hockey's a real family thing, of course, with 2 young kids. And if your wife's comfortable and happy, that just makes your life a little bit easier, and she's just as important as you. How does that factor in when you look at knowing now that you experienced the playoffs at Edmonton? Obviously you couldn't come any closer than what you guys did, but just that whole experience and knowing kind of what's here for the next few years.
Well, it was, again, that was a big part of coming back. How much in every year you push to be in the playoffs and have an opportunity to win the Stanley Cup. And I haven't had that for a long time. So you do, and you don't forget what that was like, but to be away from it for so long, you don't forget what you're playing for, but it's hard. It's hard being out in November. And, you have to take it upon yourself in that situation to find something to play for and to strive for. And I've said this before where, you have to, depending on contract situations and whatnot, you have to be able to show that, teams at the top of the pack that they might want you. And things certainly worked out great for us. But, to have the family support last year, especially, we had our second baby the week before I got traded, which was crazy and a whirlwind. But my wife was so supportive, and, both of our families, and making sure that home was taken care of, that I could just focus on coming here and playing hockey, because they understand what's at stake for me and my family. And that made it a lot easier for me just to go play. And that's not always the case. Everybody has stuff going on or whatnot. But to be able to have that support meant a lot to me, and to see how much, not just how much fun I was having here within the group, but the family coming to games and experiencing, the Oilers fans in the arena and how crazy it is around the city. All those sorts of things kind of played into, our decision to come back. And that makes it even more enjoyable for me to see how much fun the families are having. And my kids, they're still very young, but our oldest, she I don't know if she understands, but she's certainly having a lot of fun being around the rink and the kids and all that, which makes it certainly worthwhile for me, and makes my job a little easier.
Now, this might seem a little bit odd, but you look quicker this year. You feel quicker? Are you quicker?
Yeah, I feel quicker. It's again kind of one of those things. You just as you start getting older, you want to mean, our goal is to win. So you want to make sure you put everything in the off season that you can to come in just ready to go, and ramping that up from day one. So, I mean, maybe a little bit lighter and a little bit, kind of focus area for skating and trying to be more powerful. And then also just the mindset of like trying to be relentless on pucks and that sort of thing. And really kind of always have that in my game. And that's something, I learned from Zach Parise years and years ago, to the way he would play, try to play like that. So, there's a lot of little things that go into it, nothing overly riveting. We didn't reinvent the wheel in the off season, but, certainly feel good and feel healthy.
Last year, your trio became a very strong line, had a specific role, tough minutes, all that stuff worked out really well. It's a new year. Can you carry over that? How do you pick up where you left off, or do you just start fresh and regular season's different?
Well, I think you have a better understanding of, I guess, the group and I guess the role that we ended up being in together. And, again, having that chemistry, I think it's important. And whether or not lines move around and change, I think that's, one that can always be there or always go back to and feel comfortable with. Things are going to happen throughout the season. Guys are going to have to go up or down the lineup or move positions or middle to the wing. So I think it's just certainly nice to have all those different combinations. So it's nice that we have that chemistry and feel like it doesn't feel like too long ago we were out of here. So to come back to it and be on the same line, and the communication we have together is important. It's a lot of fun playing with those guys.
There you go. That is Jason Gregor in conversation with Adam Henrique, a conversation he had a couple days ago before the first loss of this season. That's going to do it for us here on the show. Coming up next, we've got Fox Sports Radio all night. Tomorrow morning, Kevin Carius is back with Brandon Douglas and Eddie Steele, 7 a.m. Big thank you to all of our guests today. If you missed anything, check out jasongregor.com or get our podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. For Jason Gregor, I'm Connor Halley. We'll be back tomorrow, 2 p.m. right here on Sports 1440. Right now, we're going to get to a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. They make your seasonal tire changeover hassle-free by offering convenient tire storage services. When you switch your winter tires, they'll store your summer tires. Go to fountaintire.com to find your nearest location. Good night.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
And I'm back with the Sports 1440 update. In case you missed it, the Edmonton Oilers placed Rafael Lavoie on waivers today, marking the third time he's been on waivers since Sunday. Blue Jackets captain Boone Jenner underwent shoulder surgery today. After being injured in practice last week, he's going to miss the next 5 to 6 months, and the Jets placed goaltender Capo Kakinen on waivers. On the ice tonight, the following games are at the first intermission. Habs and Canadian Bruins tied at 2 apiece. Kings and Sabres scoreless. Sens lead the Panthers 2-0, and the Maple Leafs up on the Devils 3-1. Midway through the first, out in New York, the Islanders and Utah scoreless. Later tonight, Penguins take on the Red Wings. Preds host the Stars. Jackets travel to Minnesota, and the Sharks up against the St. Louis Blues. Week 6 in the NFL will kick off tonight in about 20 minutes' time as the Seahawks host the Niners from Lumen Field in Seattle. Major League Baseball playoffs right now. Detroit up 2-1, tied in the game with the Guardians 2-2. That one's midway through the 6th. Coming out in about 13 minutes, you got the Royals and the Yankees meeting from Kansas City. The Yankees lead that series 2-1. And WNBA Finals tonight, Game 1. Liberty Lynx tip off 10 minutes from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. That's going to do it for us here on the Gregor Show. Coming up next, Fox Sports Radio. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty